Good. Good.
Good.
Okay, red light is on. That means we can start. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this April 5th Board of Supervisors meeting. I'd like to call to order at this time, and at this time we'd ask Mr. Slade if he'd mind doing the invocation.
Glad.
Thank you.
Come join me as we pray. Father, we come before you, and each time we start one of these meetings, and we acknowledge that we need your power and your presence here with us. Father, I'm grateful for the privilege that it is to stand before these people, my fellow citizens of Rankin County, and to acknowledge that we need you. We need the power that you bring to this community, Father, the blessings that you bring to this community. They come from you, and we acknowledge that as we continue to celebrate the risen Savior. Father, as we think about the resurrection power, I pray that you would give these gentlemen the discernment and the wisdom that they need today, this very day, so that they might make decisions that are in keeping with your will. Father, that we would honor you and please you in all that we do. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Okay, next on the agenda, under public comments and recognition, I think this is a real historical kind of event and something we're really going to be proud of, and I'd like to kind of go with what Mr. Slay said, the number of people in here that are so influential in Rankin County, and it means a lot. Rankin County is a special place, and it's all because of people like yourselves and people in this room, and have carried on the tradition, carried on the things that we need in Rankin County to move Rankin County forward. And this is a special time, so rather than keep talking here, we're going to move on to the presentation for the Chancery Clerk. Larry, if you have anything you'd like to say? Okay.
I want to say a special word of welcome to everybody that's here today, especially Dr. Townsend, our superintendent of the Rankin County School District, Ms. Freddie Harrell's the board attorney for the school board, and we have representatives from a number of schools today.
Right.
I want to thank them for coming to be a part of this presentation. Today is actually a day off for all of our school representatives today. I don't know if Dr. Sue gets a day off, probably not, but it's their day off today, and this presentation and what we are here honoring and doing today and basically publicizing today is something that's very important. It's not just important for the school district itself, it's important for each of the schools that are going to benefit from what this board and what our Chancery Clerk has gathered together to do. A common theme I think that we'll hear today throughout this meeting is that this is a community that likes to work together. Disparate organizations and parts and pieces of our county find it important that we cooperate with one another, that we work together, and so that's going to be a repeated theme today, and it's exciting to be a part of what this community can do when it joins together to effectively work with one another and to see to the betterment, especially of our kids that are involved in athletic pursuits specifically today. And so without further ado, just a quick word of background so that folks understand what this is. Rankin County is blessed in that we have very effective and efficient government that serves its people. And one of the ways that we do that is we take advantage of opportunities to serve in our various component parts of government, and we provide a fee for that service. And when we do that efficiently and effectively, we have extra fees that are generated as a result of that because we're efficient. We try to do it well. And what that means is that the extra fees become what we call excess income, and that gets diverted back to this Board of Supervisors and moves into the general county. Our Chancery Clerk had a good idea. He said, what if we take some of that extra fee income, and what if we were to make a distribution under an agreement with the school district so that we might specifically benefit athletic pursuits, athletic activities at many of our schools. And this board said that sounds like a really good idea, and since it's coming in through the county, this board had to participate in that process. And then we went to the school district, and of course we didn't get any pushback at all from the school district about basically taking money and putting it to good use for the benefit of our kids. This board said, you know what, and Larry said, we've got some schools that that are positioned where they are in the communities makes it difficult for them to get a lot of community support at a high level. Now, don't misinterpret that to mean that that the parents and the people out in those communities don't support their kids. It's that financially they're not in a position to be able to support them like some of the other schools. And so this board said, why don't we take our smaller schools and make a larger distribution pro rata to them, and then some of our larger schools will come alongside and help them a little bit more than they would have otherwise been helped. And everybody thought that was a good idea, and so that's what we're here to celebrate today. I'm going to lift this up and steal everybody's thunder. This is a presentation check that Lance Cooper put together for us. But this goes to show you what efficient use of government leads to. Because of that efficiency, we're going to divert $230,000 to the Rankin County School District for distribution among its high schools. And that's an impressive figure. And I'm excited today to hold this presentation check. It's not negotiable. Trey, I can help you figure out how we're going to get this cash. But it is good. It will, in fact, clear. And so, without further ado, Dr. Sue, would you come forward? Ms. Freddie, I want you to come too as well, because Ms. Freddie's been very helpful. Come on, you need to come on.
And,
I'm going to make you.
We have Liza McKinion here, one of our board members. I would like for her to come up too.
Absolutely.
if
Sure.
that's okay.
Ms. McKinney.
Sure. Bring
Then
whoever you
Dr.
want.
Sue, I want you
How are you? Good to see
to
you.
call forward everybody
Good to
that
see
you
you.
want to recognize,
Thank you.
or however you want to do that. Y'all call forward the folks that need to be in the picture. You over there.
Well,
Put Liza in the middle. That's where Liza needs
that's
to be.
right.
That's right.
Good morning, everyone. I would, first of all, if I have a moment, I would like to
Sure.
say thank you to the supervisors. I would like to thank Larry Swales for their commitment to the Rankin County School District, to over 19,000 students, 3,000 employees in the Rankin County School District. They know your commitment and dedication. It means more than you'll ever know. This is fabulous, but on a day-to-day basis, we know that we can pick up the phone and call you and say, help, we need your support on something, and you're always there. As I looked around the room, sitting in the back, and looking at various faces of grandchildren and students, your own children, and spouses that work for the Rankin County School District in this room, it's quite impressive, and Craig's kind of stole the thunder in saying that we are a community, that a county that people want to be here just because of this. We have a lot of great things going on physically, but it's also the people, the relationships. The sheriff that I know is always there for us when we need him. It's just quite impressive, and it's very humbling to serve in this capacity, knowing that we have you always behind us. Mr. Sullivan, who is on our foundation board, Michael Guest, Congressman Michael Guest. Not only is he a parent in the Rankin County School District, but he is the president of our foundation, and he's always there for us also, he and his family, whenever we need anything, backs us up, supports us on a national level, a state level, and we thank you with all of our hearts too. So it's just so humbling. And a board. Liza's here representing our school board, a board that knows what it's about to do what's right for children and do what's right for our employees. And the people that need to be up here are our educators. And we have our principals and our ADs here today. If you would stand. These are the people that get it done. They're the boots on the ground. They're at the top. I don't say that they're in the trenches because they're the top. We're the trenches because we're just here to support them. They're the ones that are with our students every day, do what needs to be done to take care of them, and our educators. So they are what it's all about, and they represent those children and those employees that can't be here today. So they all need to be in the picture.
Come forward,
Hey,
please.
Larry,
Let's make sure we
Larry,
get this a good
come
picture.
stand up here by Dr. Townsend. You're kind of the reason for the season, I guess.
That's right. And thank you for thinking of us.
That's it.
Come forward, gentlemen.
Y'all could have done a lot of different things with that money.
Like we're gonna have too many. Yeah.
Bring the microphone to you guys.
Can we do it 1A, 2A, and then?
They did not want me to take that on.
Let me help out right quick. Look, we're gonna make about 3 pictures, if that's okay. 2A, 1A, 2A guys up front for this first picture. My larger schools, wait just a second, we'll get y'all in here.
Northwest Rankin needs to be in the front. So, Dr. Townsend,
Oh, Lord.
I got the #1 principal in the county, so put him up front. So,
We're gonna get our congressman in here as well. He is a proud supporter of public education.
And parents.
I don't need my guinea pig. But I'm not running again.
I gotta have me in up here.
How we doing, Chuck?
I think that's doable.
Y'all move to the right, good touch, because that light's cutting right
That'll work.
There you go.
What do you think, Chuck?
All right.
Okay,
If you
3
would-
A and up.
Wait. Gotta get name. Yeah. So left to right.
Don't move.
You're a good looking guy.
Coach Pisgah, right? All right. Craig. And you are? I'm sorry? B-R-I? And you are? Michael. Tell me your name again. Spell it for me. And you were a board member?
Chuck, she's my board member, so she's a good, that's reservoir area right there.
Letter. Jack Dennis's son.
T-A.
bet. Oh, God.
T-U-E.
Wait, you found.
B-U-R-C-H-F-I-E-L-D. Principal Pilachi High School.
K-E-E-T-O-N. And you are? At Pilahatchee. And Brian.
Hey, Dr. Townsend. Dr. Townsend. Hey, we probably need to get Ben and all them in here too at some point. Oh, second round up?
Yeah.
We'll get
They get the rest of them in here.
Stein and all
Yeah.
that.
There you go.
Ben can lay down in front. That's it. We get him to lay down
All
right
right.
in front.
That's everybody, right? Yep.
Okay, raise your hands.
Next group. Next one.
3A and up.
Are we giving Brandon money? Did I vote for that?
No.
I don't think I voted for the Brandon getting any money. Gotta check on that. He beat up on us too bad, Congressman. That's it. That's it.
You know, there's a height requirement to be an administrator.
I like that. That's right. We got a lot of requirements in Northwest. We got a lot of requirements in Northwest.
This is 3A and up.
Yes,
been you.
Good job, Larry.
Y'all kinda like the Raiders committed excellence.
We are. Look, Congressman, meet our new football coach over here. We're going to put that on Brandon. We're going to go ahead and get the pace started right now. Is that our new football coach? Ben, introduce him up front.
Frank
right there.
has diligently worked hard with Attorney General's office, all the school people. He's done a great job, and I will a lot of this guy for making this happen.
Larry,
All right.
No, I think
you were on the left, right? Oh. All right. You were first on the left, right? Okay.
Congressman,
Or why?
we went out and got a guy specifically to beat Brandon. That was Ben's #1 requirement. We got a football coach to beat Brandon. That's what we went and got him for.
Y'all win one game.
That's the only game we're worried about right there.
What's your
That's all right.
title?
I'm trying to do it.
Title?
Huh?
He's got to get it in while he can, you know.
When I'm in Pelahatchie, I'm a chief. When I'm in Pisgah, I'm a dragon. When I'm in Brandon, I'm a bulldog. I've even got the clothes to wear.
Hey, Jeff, we need some of this to the golf team.
That's what I was saying.
Michael.
Good to see you. Damn good.
Yeah, I can be a pirate or a bulldog.
There you go. Yeah, you got all the shirts,
I'm
don't you?
trying to, but I can't do it. I'm just.
You're not there yet?
That's the only way it's gonna be. I think the private Northwest, we've been beat down so bad.
ST.
I got hatred for everybody. You know?
EIN.
I can't get on board.
I can get over that hatred.
I know.
You find the
I'm
love.
You are.
everybody.
I'm trying to love everybody these days.
Yeah.
I'm trying to love everybody.
You got to become diverse,
I know.
man.
Title.
I'm spread out.
That's right.
I'm working
Principal
on
of where?
myself on that.
Got to accept all the schools for the flaws.
I know.
None of them are as good as yours.
I know.
All right,
I'm
yeah.
trying to diversify my love a little bit. I'm trying.
Marcus Stewart.
Hey, Craig.
STEWART. Principal where? Okay. Tony Martin. Principal Florence, right? Okay. Devin. EVIN. And you are?
What was it?
Jeff, how many Pro V1s can we buy with 230,000?
Where are we at?
Get away from it. We get a little bit.
Brian.
That's right. That's about right. I guarantee you, I can go through it.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
All right.
Don't let Nick Broom have any of that. Keep Nick Broom.
Thank you all that today.
Thank y'all. Thank you.
Thank y'all for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all. I did it all by myself. I did it by
It's
myself.
always great to see you.
It was just me. I was going,
You may be pro, but you still love us.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
yes, ma'am.
Appreciate you more than you'll ever know. And they're excited about spending.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'll come back.
Appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, guys.
Thank you again, sir. Appreciate y'all. You'll ever know.
Well, that went out with a blast. That was good. That's,
Inspired words.
never seen that happen.
Call
Not
me.
really good, you bet.
Good to see you. All right. Dr. Tom, good to see you.
Where you
How's
at?
work today? Good?
Wait,
Give him have an easy day.
Retired.
Give him an easy day.
I think you had, after I called him, I heard all of everything.
There's always a checks in the mail. Checks in the mail, right?
He did it.
I'll do it. See you, buddy.
Gentlemen, if I-
You got some practice.
Okay,
Before we move on from our presentation, I wanted to make one comment that is in the nature of a little bit further explanation. I mentioned that the ability of this board and our chancery clerk to make a donation like this to the school district is because we generate fee income that is over and above the cost of delivering the services. And I wanted to explain just a little bit further. Those fees, the amounts of those fees are set by state statute. And so lest anybody think that we are overcharging for our services, we charge exactly what the state of Mississippi allows us to charge, and that just so happens because we have an efficient process in place to deal with that service. We're able to generate some extra income like this that would not otherwise be available to us. We don't overcharge. We don't charge more than other counties. We charge exactly what the statute authorizes. And just so happens that I think we've made a fantastic decision to take some of that extra money and push that along in places where we know there is a need and where it can have a great benefit. And so I'm excited about how that worked out. I just want to make that last explanation.
Thank you, Craig.
All right.
And thank you, Mr. Swales, for approaching us with the idea. It's a good cause.
Hopefully do it again this year.
Great thing, great thing. Okay. Rest of the meeting is gonna have hard to top that, but okay, have a motion to approve,
I'll make a
old business.
motion.
Second.
Motion by by Brad and to Steve to approve, any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Brad,
Second.
second by Steve.
There was something, Daniel wanted pulled.
It's already been pulled.
It's already pulled and it's on the front now?
And I think the sheriff's got that taken care of. That's what we were just working out.
Okay.
So I think we're good.
All right.
Okay, got a motion and a second, any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, and now it's an honor to have our Congressman Michael Guest come up and, where'd he go? You gonna do it? No.
I'm going to introduce him.
Please, no.
Jimmy, come stand by me. I've got some duct tape. I'm gonna put on.
They asked me to do it for you.
You gotta have him hid. Thank you. Grand entrance.
You're looking for a notebook, Jimmy.
As if our presentation to the school district was not a joyful enough occasion or a spirited enough occasion, we decided to keep this meeting rolling by asking our 3rd District Congressman Michael Guest to come and to speak to the board on any matters that may be important to him to address. But before he comes, I wanted to take just a second just to remind Michael who he is exactly, just in case he'd forgotten about that. He is probably as native as you can be to be a part of this county. Michael and I have actually known each other since we were preteens. And so this is, it's a real treat for me to have my congressman come and to talk to our board about matters that are going on in D.C., about what he's involved in, and just basically to give you guys an update on a few things that may be important to us. It just so happens that not too terribly long ago, our congressman was recognized by the highest levels of leadership in the United States that he deserves an opportunity to lead some very important parts of our federal government. And so Michael was selected and tasked to serve on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee of the United States House of Representatives. And that is something that I think deserves our attention. It deserves pointing out to our people, especially the people of the 3rd District, that we have elected a man who is recognized as a leader among leaders. Among his peers, he was identified and given this position, and that's no small thing. And so I wanted this board to have an opportunity to look Michael eyeball to eyeball and let him know that we're proud of him, number one, and we are thankful that he's our congressman, number two, and we appreciate the fact that he has served capably and has already been recognized as a leader. And so in that position on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, he is going to be taking active roles to promote trade, economic growth, And broadband expansion, that's something we've been talking about here, even in our county in the rural parts. Michael is positioned on that committee to address some of those issues, and we're hopeful of being able to work with him. You know, it's nice to have a congressman that you can actually pick up the phone and call, and you actually get him. And that just is an amazing thing. He's very responsive, very helpful. And I think it's part and parcel of what it means to be a representative of the people. It's the people's house, and he is a representative of the people, and he does a fantastic job of representing our community. And I'm not going to continue to take up his time. On that committee, he will have some real opportunity to speak into issues that are going to be impactful to his district and that affect transportation and infrastructure. And you guys know we have been talking about at length for at least 3 years, if not longer, that we have some identifiable transportation and infrastructure needs at the county level that are important to us. And our hope is that we'll be able to take advantage of an opportunity now to sit with Michael as he is in a position of leadership to do something about those things. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take a lot of communicating back and forth. It's going to take multiple trips, and we hope eventually they're going to lift this blockade and they're going to let us actually get back up there. It's going to take those kinds of opportunities for us to go and to share and to be in the right places at the right time and to have good, capable leaders in place at the right time. So on the front end of this, come on, Mike. On the front end of this, I want Michael to share with you guys what's important to him and what he sees going on in our district. Michael, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. It's great to be among friends. It's great to be back home in Rankin County. We're home for the Easter recess. I've got one more week before we return back to Washington. As Craig said, this is home. I will soon, while not born in Rankin County, it will soon be 4 decades since my family moved to Rankin County. And this is where I would want to be from anywhere in the world. Had the opportunity to be raised in a great community, to be part of a great school system, still a great school system. I had a chance to send my children both through the Rankin County school system. One has graduated and gone on, and one is a year removed from graduating. Married a girl from Rankin County. All of our roots, all of our family are here. And so Rankin County is special. It is a special place to me. It's a place that I like to tell everybody is a place of good, God-fearing people. We saw that at least at our church, and hopefully at your church on Easter Sunday. Even in the midst of a pandemic, people wanting to come to church and wanting to celebrate that Easter. A place of great schools and great educators, as we just recognized. Brave men and women of law enforcement, such as my friend Sheriff Brian Bailey. And I'll tell you, I cannot brag enough about what Brian's doing. I know this isn't about Brian Bailey, but he does a fabulous job protecting this community. And the things he does in the jail are just amazing. And I look at Brian and I see his passion and what he wants to accomplish and how he wants to help people. You know, Brian will tell you that when he started out, he and I both had the mindset of, hey, we're just going to lock them up and throw them away, and eventually, they'll quit committing crime. And we saw that that didn't necessarily work. We'd lock them up, throw them away, and there'd be another 1 or 2 come up right behind them. And so now Brian's mission is, look, we're going to lock up and throw away those that we need to, but we're going to try to change the hearts and the minds of those individuals who we can save. And the things that he's done and the way that he's put himself out to establish those programs, again, are something that Rankin County can be proud of. It is something that I think will be a model that other places will emulate what we're doing here in Rankin County. And the last great thing about Rankin County is just the leadership. We've got elected officials who want to work with community leaders to do the right thing and see that Rankin County is a great place to live and worship and to raise a family. And that's why I love being from Rankin County. One of the challenges that is not unique to Rankin County, but is going to be a challenge that's going to be across the country, is infrastructure. Infrastructure needs continue to grow, continue to change. And the needs of infrastructure in one part of the state are going to be very different than the needs for infrastructure in another part of the state. You know, I look here in Rankin County, and the needs that we have here are for additional roadways. We've got to be able to move the number of people that are coming in and be able to allow them to move from one part of the county to another, whether they're going to school or work or church or going out just to enjoy many of the amenities that we have here. Other parts of the county, I'll look at the capital city of Jackson. They're in desperate need of infrastructure reform as it relates to their water system. I think we saw that with the recent ice storm. They have an aging water system that must be repaired and at some points replaced. As you get out into the more rural areas, you've got rural roads and bridges that have not been maintained as Rankin County has been able to maintain those. And Craig also mentioned rural broadband. I think that that is an important component of economic growth. If you live in Brandon or the Reservoir or Pearl, even within the city limits of Florence and Richland, you probably have access to pretty good internet. But as you get out into the more rural areas here of the county, we see individuals who don't have that access. And while that used to be a luxury, it used to be something where you could get on the internet quicker, or Netflix would load a little sooner. We've seen in a pandemic world, we've seen people working from home, being educated from home, people worshiping from home, people seeing their doctors from home by telemedicine. And so if we're going to continue to be an economic leader like we have in Rankin County, we're going to have to continue to address those infrastructure needs. You know, I think of infrastructure and I think of, you know, Interstate I-20. Rankin County is blessed to have a major east-west corridor that runs right through our county. That is great for people looking to relocate businesses, great for our population. We often forget we've got a very small segment of I-55 in Rankin County. Sometimes I see my friends at Flowood Police Department over there conducting traffic stops there. But we've got I-55 and I-20, and then I think of our major state highways, Highway 49, which is undergoing a needed construction. Highway 25 that runs through Flowood that many of us take on a regular basis. You know, then I think of things like the airport. It may be called the Jackson International Airport, but that airport's located in Rankin County. And Rankin County is where that airport sits. And there at that airport, we also is home with the 172nd from our Air National Guard. Kansas City Southern, a major Class 1 railroad, which is soon to merge with the Canadian Pacific. They have rail located in Rankin County. And then I think of the reservoir and the reservoir and the fact that the reservoir is in fact a major infrastructure project as we're looking at ways in which we are going to be providing water. And so there's several things that are happening in Rankin County that are unique to really almost any county in our state. If you talk just about those infrastructure issues that we just talked about, those infrastructures that we have in place, I would say that there are probably very few, if any, counties that can match what we have here in Rankin County. And I'll tell you that Rankin County has done a great job is that y'all have established a good team that are working toward long-term plans. I think of the watershed district that I have had at least personally 3 to 4 meetings with Craig and Trey and Ryan. I don't know if Ryan's here, trying to come up with that comprehensive plan in addition to the meetings that they've had with staff. I know that watershed district, we wrote a letter of support to the Army Corps of Engineers for the 7001 authorization. And that we're looking for ways in which the federal government can partner with our state and local governments to fund these major infrastructure projects. I know that infrastructure can't be bore alone. I tell everybody that it is a triad, if you will, that it requires buy-in from the federal government, the local government, and state government. And we all have to be working together if we're going to accomplish and if we're going to have major infrastructure. And that's what we're going to have in Rankin County. You know, again, Rankin County have done a good job of maintenance. So you don't necessarily need money for maintenance. You need money for major projects that are going to be able to move traffic from one side of the county to the other. And so that's going to require us working together. And we're going to need to make sure that we're going to be able to replicate what we've done with the watershed project for other things, because that's something that's going to be vitally important. As Rankin County is looking for federal funding, whether you're looking at getting money from the Army Corps, money from FEMA, money from some other federal organization, whether you're looking for some sort of language in a Surface Transportation Act, whether you're looking for a build grant, whether you're looking for congressionally directed spending, all of that is going to require a replication of what y'all been able to do. the county government, the city government, the state government, all working together, all coming and saying, this is an important project, this is the plan that we have in place, this is how we're gonna carry it out, we now need you to help us with funding. And that's where I want to come in. I want to be able to be there on Capitol Hill. I want to be able to be your advocate. I want to be able to say that this project is a project that is worthy of the federal government investing in. And I'm going to be able to do that because I'm going to be able to show them all the work that y'all have done on the front end. And I'm going to say, look at this work that Rankin County has put in. They've got buy-in from every city. They've got buy-in, unanimous buy-in from their Board of Supervisors. They've already done all of the groundwork. They just need money now to get this project off the ground. And so again, whether that be build grants, whether that be trying to put language in the Transportation Act, or whether that be through some sort of congressionally directed spending, I want to continue to be a part of that. Again, I love this county. I know everybody that sits on this board, and I'll tell you that y'all do a fabulous job. Many of our other counties would be well served if they had the group that works as well as y'all do together. And to be able to see not only how y'all work together with each other, but how you work with our mayors and municipal leaders, how you work with our state leaders, I think truly sets an example of how counties can be successful. So thank y'all. I'll be happy if y'all have any questions very briefly to answer. Again, I don't want anything. Probably one of the few times people come before a board meeting and they don't ask for anything. But anything Brian wants, I'm gonna second him. So whatever he asks for, you just give what you were going to give to me to the sheriff. Was there any questions that y'all have? And Craig's like, everybody up here has my cell number. If y'all have called me and I've not called you back, I apologize. I don't think that's ever happened. I think any time that y'all have called, I've done my best to return those calls promptly. Done my best when I don't know the answers, and I don't know all the answers, to put you in contact with some of our folks, particularly in D.C. that do. I've been blessed to have a great staff in D.C. Many of those were holdovers from the Harper administration. We had some that served for former Senator Thad Cochran. I've got one, I'll call her a young lady, who has served with me, served 10 years for Greg Harper, 12 years for Chip Pickering, and 6 years with G.B. Sonny Montgomery.
Wow.
She has a wealth of knowledge and information. And so if I don't know the answers, I promise you I'll do my best to find those answers out. And sometimes there just aren't any answers. You know, so sometimes Craig will call our office and there just aren't answers to certain questions. You know, sometimes Congress will do things and we'll give you money and you guys want to know how you can spend the money, and we don't know because those regulations are still in the process of being developed. But the good thing with y'all asking early, then we can try to do our best to kind of mold those regulations and hope that wherever that money needs to be spent here in Rankin County are allowable under the rules that the administration is going to set out. So do y'all have any questions of anything that I can answer today?
The only thing I have, just remember us whenever they do finally come up with those guidelines. We'd like to be updated as soon as possible.
Right.
That list is getting longer by the day.
Well, we will continue to get all the information we can. We'll funnel it through Craig. Will probably be the easiest place, but we will continue to watch for that. And as soon as anything comes across our desk, Jay, we will immediately get it back down to y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Michael, I have one question. I recently got a news blip. I don't watch news, but I got a news blip about Kamala Harris and her comments about the veterans hospitals.
Comment about what?
Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Making a comment about the veterans hospitals.
Right.
How we should not focus on putting much money into the veterans and the ones who served and the ones who've done due diligence. And she's wanting to more focus that money out of the VA hospitals toward, and I know it's going to take an act of Congress, but toward immigrants. People have never served anything, never worked for anything. Anyway, I don't know if that's a true comment to be true or not, but it's all over the newsland that I get, stuff about her comments and was taken while she was talking to some group and all that, and that's disturbing. That's very disturbing. So I hope the Congress will continue to support your veterans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I've not heard that, but I would be very surprised if Congress is going to do anything as far as taking money from our VA hospitals, because we made a promise to our veterans, whether it be you or Brian or any of the others that have served. My father, my father-in-law, we've had so many folks in our communities that have served, and we need to continue to invest in our veterans hospitals. And that's one thing that our office will do for constituents of anyone, not just in the district, but of the state. If you've got an issue with the federal government, such as a VA issue, maybe you're not getting the treatment and care that you need with the VA, maybe you're having an issue with some other entity, the IRS or other places, we can sometimes be able to get involved and advocate on behalf of the people in our district. You know, it could be a big issue from life-threatening illness that requires some sort of specialized treatment that the VA is saying they don't want to pay for, and it could be very small. I was a couple of years ago now, but right after I got elected, I was down in Simpson County at a VA. A Veteran of Foreign Wars event that they were having, and a veteran came up to me, and he said, "Look, I just want to thank you." And I had never met this man before, and I said, "Well, I appreciate that." I said, "Would you mind telling me what you're thanking me for?" And he said, "Well, I'm a veteran, and I had an issue and came to your office, and you were able to get it resolved." And I said, "Well, that's great. What was the issue?" And he pulled out a pair of eyeglasses he had in his pocket, and he put it on, and he said, "What do you notice about my eyeglasses?" And I said, "Well, you're missing the lens on the right-hand side." Folded those up, put them in his pocket, pulled another pair off, put those on, and he said, "These are my new eyeglasses." He said, "I had been trying for 3 months to get a pair of glasses from the VA. I went to your office, and in 3 days, your staff was able to help me get a new pair of eyeglasses." And so for that veteran, that meant more than anything.
That was a big issue. That was.
Yeah,
right.
and so, and I gotta give credit to Chad Dixon if he's in the room. Chad actually was the person that sat down with that veteran. He just walked into our office. We didn't know him. Chad said, "What can I help you with?" He went through what he needed. We got on the phone and were able to get that problem resolved, and within 3 days he had that. And so that's the kind of service we want to provide. That's what we want to do for our veterans. And as those issues arise, I know sometimes you have people in the community that will come to you and they'll say, "I have a problem. I don't know where I need to go." If it's an issue that we can help with, please refer them over to us. You know, that's one thing I wanted to do. I know Jay's probably a little upset that I moved the congressional office out of Pearl, but I wanted to move it here because I wanted it to be in the heart of government. I mean, as the county government is located here, I wanted to be to where if I could walk across the street if I needed to be here to help deal with an issue. If somebody came to the courthouse looking for help and it was something that the county couldn't help with, but we could, that all they got to do is get in the car, and in 2 minutes they're right there in our office. And so I thought that was important to kind of keep that synergy of the federal government, at least the federal government representing the 3rd District here in the county seat in Rankin County. And so please continue to remember us as ways that we can help serve the folks of Rankin County.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Need something?
Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael, would you come up, please? Chuck. Chuck, will you get a,
Yeah.
hey Chuck,
Let's go
you
down.
get a quick picture?
Stand up there with y'all.
We'll come down there. We'll come down
Come down
there.
there.
We'll come to you.
Wherever y'all want me, I'll stand right here.
I'll leave Steve Gaines over behind.
That's like getting your video. They come I can't just hand on the wallet.
Come on now. No former police, you gotta watch him. All right.
Larry, you want to come and get the picture? You good, huh? Come on, Larry. Sheriff.
Sullivan, you know what Sullivan?
Ron's on the picture.
It's a rare. Come on, man.
Come on, Larry. Come on, John.
Do the one party. I'm good.
Come on, man.
Come on, everybody.
Ready? Hold on, Chuck.
Get a little slow there coming out of the chair.
That was gonna be a good picture to some of them got there. I mean, good.
He's on the edge.
So I can run.
Crop that picture a little bit.
He wasn't on the edge, he was hanging on.
Still get this thing wrapped.
I've seen some of the plan for that. Thank you, good to see you, man.
Go ahead.
Gentlemen, if I may, just
All right.
before, Mr. President, before we call John up and move on with the docket, I wanted to make one quick recognition. Tom, Regina, thank you guys for coming today. They knew that Congressman Guest was going to speak today. They know that his position on transportation and infrastructure also deals with and is closely tied to economic development activity in the county, and we're thankful for you guys to come and to be a part and to hear what the congressman had to say. I wanted to make that recognition. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Okay,
Hey,
quite a meeting day. John, come on up, see if you can trump that.
Well, I just want to thank the Board of Supervisors, our congressional district, Michael Guest, and the sheriff, and Larry Swells, and my personal attorney back there, Mark Baker, for doing everything for the constituents of Rankin County. I'd like to thank y'all for funding my budget to the fullest extent and putting me on the list of such wonderful. Okay.
And now moving-
I go, okay.
and moving
Item A,
on.
petition
Now-
change the
now
assessment
moving on.
2020 real property
Motion
assessment.
approved.
Motion.
Who?
Steve Gaines.
Steve, so who's second?
Second.
Second. Motion approved by Steve, second by Brad. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Item B, approve the final resolution for the ad valorem tax exemption for Denbury.
Motion.
second.
Motion approved by Steve, second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you for all those kind words.
Yeah. All right, Mike Harrison.
Morning.
Morning.
Road work accomplished for March and scheduled for April.
Make a motion.
Motion approved by Daniel,
Second.
second by Brad. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Y'all want to break down or
I'm good.
y'all good? All right.
I'm good.
Discussion of potential action of culvert replacement on Greenfield. I think we talked about this the other day.
Mhm.
Did you find out what you need to find out? As far as inventory coming in and,
Yes, we do have it. I will know something today, Jay, but it looks like they're gonna have one of the pipes that I'm missing delivered this week. So hopefully we can take care of the lower end while we've got the road closed. And then of course, we're waiting on guardrails to get replaced on the bridge right now. So we've got a couple issues before we can open the road this week anyway.
okay, all right.
So,
So what are we're looking at,
So you gonna do
Yeah.
that and then move on down and close the other section?
yes, sir.
And
But
you
I
all
need to
have
get the guard,
everything?
I need to get the guardrails in place before we open
That
the
way we
traffic
can
up.
route traffic back toward Brandon instead of the other.
Route it back toward Brandon while I work on the lower end of it.
So do you have a number, 15? Is that what it was?
Yes, sir.
15, what?
Cross drains.
Yeah.
Culverts.
So we got an idea what this is gonna cost? I'm just curious,
Oh, yeah, it was about 300,000 just for the culverts.
just for the culverts.
Yes, sir.
We got, how many 8-foot ones we got to go in?
Four,
4, that's what
I never seen a dollar figure on that.
372s, and then everything else goes to about 6 foot or less.
Well, it's not like we got a lot of choice, well, I guess we do, but,
Well, I don't know.
all right. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Jay, second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed?
I got one thing I would like to discuss while I'm up here. We took some stuff to the auction the other day.
Yeah, I saw that list.
It did very well.
That's what we were talking about, like, a month ago, whether or not we should take those
2 weeks
trucks
ago.
or keep
Yeah.
them.
Sometime or another, yes, sir.
2-3 weeks ago, yeah.
Did all right, huh?
Yes, sir. We broke out pretty good, made a little money on the dump trucks. Did real good on some older stuff we had, Steve. When we did my budget last year, we're kinda running short on dump trucks. We talked about this the other day a little bit in the dump truck deal. But I've had one that's been in an accident. Looks like the frame has been twisted on it, so we're gonna
Big
lose.
truck?
Small truck. But we're gonna lose that truck. It's gonna put me short-handed in the dump truck end of it. I was actually one down, but now I'm gonna be two down. So. we
Small
ended up-
truck, just small trucks?
Yes, sir. Just small
Didn't that
truck.
person have insurance?
Would if we could get the person.
There wasn't?
Somebody run us off the road the other day, but left scene of
Oh.
an accident. We just know it was a black vehicle, that's all,
Wow.
on it, so. Anyway, we got twisted frame on a truck that's probably not gonna be usable. Getting with the insurance company and stuff like that, but it's probably gonna be totaled out, but estimating the truck probably not gonna be worth about $20,000. That's kind of going rate on those trucks.
Older truck?
Yes, sir. It's a 15-year-old truck.
Oh.
But, anyway, we made enough money the other day to replace that truck at the auction. And I think I've got enough in my budget. I'll have to relook at it a little bit, but maybe to buy one more cab chassis that we can take the bed off of a truck. That's one.
Is the dump bed, did it twist the
The
bed?
the bed's okay on it.
It's just a
We're
frame.
saying
Just frame.
just frame on the truck, and it's, where it's twisted at is where the motor does, so you'll have to pull the cab and motor just to straighten the frame, and the truck's
Right.
not gonna be worth that much.
When you say you made enough money on the trucks that you may be able to replace one or two of these others you said at the auction,
Yes, sir.
are you meaning that you made enough money at the auction where you sold the used trucks,
Yes, sir.
and you can take that money and buy new trucks at a dealership?
You're only talking about?
not back at the
One
auction.
truck?
Right.
Not
One
money,
truck.
right.
One or two, whatever.
Just
okay.
whatever he sold,
I just-
various things he sold at auction.
You lost me when I
Yeah,
thought that's what
Right.
you meant, but when you said back, like you was going back to the auction to buy one.
Yes, sir.
No.
We sold stuff that we had paid for, just pickups, old trailers, stuff like that. I mean, we grossed over 110,000 on that kind of stuff. That'll buy a new complete truck with a bed on it.
Yeah,
And
I
then I
got you.
think I've got enough in my budget to buy a
Just
cab
have a
chassis
chassis.
that I can move this bed over on,
so you're talking about buying one truck?
too. A cab chassis and probably one that does have a dump bed on it, Jerry, to replace this one. But we'll have to go out for bid on this. And
Have y'all, I guess that's something we gotta get with anybody on, or we just, I don't know.
Well, I'm just,
You,
I know I
you say
got
you
the
made-
money to get one.
You cleared 110 after we paid everything off?
On some of it, yes, sir, I cleared more than that.
Oh, yeah. But I'm talking about you netted,
Yeah,
Because some of the stuff was old stuff is paid for, yeah.
right.
yeah, like I had, just for
Yeah.
instance, Jay, I mean, I had some pickups that brought $20,000 that had 170,000 miles on
Are
them.
you having to replace those?
Not this year. We will next year.
Yeah.
But, like our Mack dump trucks,
You got
You know.
20,000 for a pickup truck
yes,
with 170,000 miles.
It'd just be one of them times at the auction, you never
it's
see
just,
that much.
it's just one of them
Pickup truck
times
is
that
it?
right now everything's bringing
Pickup trucks are
good.
premium right now.
Used pickups or
Used
things as
can't-
much as a new.
You can't get some of these things that they're trying to, some of these kind of special type trucks, hard to get them now.
But anyway, I've been calling around because I know we'll have to go through the bid process, but I was trying to make sure if we bid it out, we had somebody had trucks in stock, and there is a few dealers that does have some cab chassis in stock. And we'll have to go through the bid process, and I think reverse auction takes about 6 to 8 weeks. So I think we've got time to get it in on this budget cycle, but I just really want to talk to the board.
We can't get that off state contract?
They didn't renew the state contract. They had them on it, but they didn't renew it this year, and they may renew it in the time frame. But I
Who,
just.
who didn't renew it? I mean, what do you mean, they didn't renew it?
DEF,
Huh?
Department of Finance,
Oh, really?
DFA.
Huh,
They actually had one on state contract we've been buying
yeah,
on it.
that's
So,
odd.
I mean, I know it's a short window, but we're gonna have to replace truck, but we're gonna be down,
Yeah.
we're gonna be shorthanded on crews.
All right.
Trucks. So,
All right, so you want permission to do one, possibly two?
yes, sir. I'd like to do permission to authorize at least up to 2, and.
What's gonna be the determining factor if you don't get two? What, if they got inventory or something?
Inventory or something like that, Jay.
Okay, all right.
But the way we'll bid it is 1 or more, just like we always do, and then that way we can get whatever we need. And this contract will be good. I think they've kind of changed that a little bit. Once we bid it, if we want to add some more trucks next year, we can reuse, whoever gets it, we can reuse this contract.
Okay, all right.
But I'm trying to take the beds off my old trucks and put on the new trucks, but I'm
Yeah,
halving away the cost to make sure, you know, you don't buy a new truck and put an old bed on it and you still at the same money, you know, so.
All right, I make a motion to add these items.
Second.
motion to add these items agenda by Mr. Bishop, second by, Brad. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion approved.
So moved.
Second.
Steve, second by Brad. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Thank you.
opposed?
Yep.
Good morning.
We have one item, Mr. President, North Shore Landing Phase 3. We're recommending approval of the final plat and the letter of credit in the amount of $136,635.70. That's a District 2 development.
Yep. Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Daniel, second by Steve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Mr. Slade.
Gentlemen, before I get to my section of the agenda, while it's on my mind from what Tim just presented to you guys, we have had a couple of interactions, I'll call it, with gas pipeline companies recently that I wanted to bring to your attention so that if you do hear something, you'll have a little bit of background about what's going on. So we have pipelines that transverse the county, and we're very familiar with that because it's a heavy CO2 and natural gas corridor right through the middle of Rankin County. And so we see some interaction from time to time with gas pipelines. Those are generally buried fairly deeply. They're also pretty well protected and encased in the areas where they cross a public road especially, or into the rights of way. And because they cross our right of way, there's sometimes interaction that we have over issues of documentation and making sure that everybody's clear about what is happening inside the public right of way as it relates to those areas where the gas pipeline conflicts. And so we've had some interactions recently and some things, some documentation that has had to pass between hands and review. So in situations where a gas pipeline is going through a planned and under development platted subdivision, that creates some pretty unique challenges for us. Number one, the roads in a platted subdivision that hadn't been turned over to the county are not yet public. And so there, there is an interaction between the developer and the gas pipeline about how to transverse, cross the gas pipeline with roads that aren't public. And so that has caused our attention because we have to look at that in light of the fact that eventually those roads will become public roads, if that makes sense. And so we've been using a much more cautious approach with that, not a hands-off approach. We've been wanting to know exactly what is being called for and what is the developer being asked to do, because invariably in those agreements that are entered into between the developer and the pipeline, there's language that says that whatever's in that agreement is binding on successors. And that would imply that if we accept for public maintenance the roads, we are a successor to the developer, and presumptively we would be bound by those terms. So it's a good thing that we've had an opportunity to review those agreements beforehand and to speak into those agreements And I have been asking now for language to be included in any agreement like that the agreement is not binding on Rankin County. That way, at some point, the county will be given an opportunity to agree to whatever it is that we're supposed to agree to after we've had a chance to think about it and you guys have had a chance to speak on it. We're not going to agree to something just by virtue of the fact that the fellow that had it before us agreed to it. So, I just want you to be aware of that. That has gotten the attention of the pipeline people because they don't know how to deal with that. It's unique, and so we're having to work through some of those issues, and I wanted y'all to be aware that you may hear something from either a representative of the pipeline or a representative of a developer about that. That's the background. And so the answer is, hey, you know, as a county, we can't agree to something just because the folks that had it before us have agreed to it. We want a chance to be at the table to agree to what we want to agree to, or not agree to something we don't want to agree to. Okay? So I wanted to make y'all aware of that. Mr. President, I see that items A through F on the agenda are all to set public hearings at the same time on the same day. I would ask that we combine items A through F and that we set those public hearings as you see them reflected.
I'll make a motion to A through F.
All right,
April
motion
15th.
motion by Brad, second by,
Second.
No. I want to talk about F.
Okay.
okay, we'll take it on.
I'd like to
Do A through E?
separate F.
Okay.
We do A through E.
Do A through E.
Okay. A through E?
All right.
Motion set A through E by Brad, second by, Jay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
All right, item F is to set a public hearing April 15 at 9 a.m. for Baldeep Singh. This
Hang on.
is the Shell.
I think
No,
it was
dadgummit.
D was the one that we, not,
D?
yeah.
I'm
D.
sorry,
D.
I misunderstood that,
Yeah.
okay?
Well, it's,
So-
well,
It,
not your fault. I thought.
All right,
somebody
can we
else.
start it over?
Yeah, we'll start
All
over.
right.
How about that? We will wipe the slate clean on my section, and we're now starting all over on my
I'll make a
section right here.
motion to set A, B, and C for April the 15th.
All right, A, B, C, E, F.
Yeah.
E, F, too.
Yeah.
Yep, will be
okay.
set for April 15 at 9 a.m. And we're
right.
gonna talk about D.
Okay, motion by Brad to set those public hearings, second by Jay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Right.
I
Okay.
think if we just taken them all individually, it would have been right where we are right now. But anyhow, item D is to set a public hearing for April 15 for the Kazek Properties LLC conditional use permit. That's at 130 Baker Lane. That's a District 4 property. All right?
The reason that I want to talk about this, and I understand we're just setting the public hearing. This was before us one other time, I'm gonna say a year and a half ago or so. And it made it through here and was approved with some plans that they had, and when I looked at them, they were pretty, they would be encroaching on some, I mean, just the atmosphere. But I called one of the neighbors, and he said, man, we didn't know anything about it. And I said, they posted it. And he said, I saw it posting, and a few days later, I went up there to see what it was, and it was gone. I said, well, it was supposed to be the 30 days. He said it wasn't. I don't know if they went back and reposted or whatever. And then, I said, well, you're supposed to have gotten a letter. He said, Steve, if they mailed a letter, I didn't get it. I didn't know this, anything. We do not want this. We bought our land and we built in the back for privacy. And I will fight this as hard as I can. Another neighbor on the other side, very same thing, similar. And they asked me, please don't. And I said, well, it's through this phase. And let me just see. It fell apart because of problems at the bank, so it was moot. And I told Renee, make sure that this zoning goes back to where it was, because the applicant is gone. The zoning went with the applicant. And then these people have either bought or got a contract on the property, and I think just assume that it would be okay to put outside storage and get the zoning changed. But the same issue that was there before is still there. So I asked them to get with your neighbors. They have been there the longest. And y'all work something together to where everybody's satisfied, or I will not work with this. And that, I want that to be clear to everybody around there that, this type outside storage is not something that you or I would want looking out my window. What I'm saying is pulling a travel trailer in and trying to park at night, or bringing a big RV in and parking. I mean, that's what this is for. I would I consider a lot of other things, but anyhow, they need to get with the neighborhood, and let's keep it a neighborhood. That's all. So on this one, I make the motion, we set it.
Second.
Motion set the public hearing by Steve, second by Jay. Any discussion? Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Mr. President, item G is a public hearing on the Jose Varela conditional use permit. We'll open that public hearing. Renee, do we know if Mr. Varela's outside?
Yes, I'm fixing to say.
All right. Y'all give us just a second, and we'll get the applicant and anyone who is wishing to speak in opposition forward.
Hey, how did you do? You do the guns on game? Larry.
Well, I took the over. I spent a little bit on him, got on the spread, but I lost that one. You know, I won the 2 games. I took the over both games, so I told Daniel he gets me a winner tonight. I got you one.
Somebody behind you.
Okay. Gentlemen, the public hearing is now open. Mr. Varela is, I'll call you in just a second. Mr. Varela is seeking a conditional use permit to construct a 36 by 26 metal building to be used as an upholstery shop. And this property is located at 407 Holyfield Circle. It's a .28 acre parcel. It's currently zoned A1. Previously, there was a manufactured home on the property. That has been removed. Mr. Varela owns the adjoining 3.37 acre parcel to the east. He is proposing hours of operation Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. This time I will ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Jose Varela conditional use permit. Anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter? Gentlemen, Mr. Varela is present. If you have any questions, this time we'll close that public hearing. It'll be appropriate to take action.
What was the conditions? What were some of the conditions we had on that?
Yeah, turn your mic on.
All I ask is do not store anything, keep
No, sir.
everything
Yes, sir.
inside the building.
Yes, sir.
No outside storage.
No outside
Yes.
storage.
No, sir. Everything, that's why, I was gonna get the building big enough so I could put everything in. So it was nothing gonna be out, just outside right now,
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
Motion approved by Brad.
Yes, sir. Mr. Varela, give me your
Bishop
address.
seconded.
Huh?
Bishop seconded.
Wow.
407 Holyfield Circle. Very good.
Second by
I
Jay.
did, second.
407 Holyfield Circle is his address. All right? Sometimes I remember to do that, sometimes I don't. All right?
What's this gonna be, a upholstery shop?
Upholstery. Yes, sir.
Good to know.
All right. So, item G is closed.
Yep. We got a-
Item H is a public hearing on the Paul and
well,
Kim
we gonna-
Edwards.
We're gonna vote on G.
I'm sorry. Did I
We
not
got a
let y'all
motion and a
vote?
second. We got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed. I thought you had something else to add.
My bad. I apologize.
Yeah.
You're good. Thank you for catching that.
Can I interrupt before you go to the next one? I left out one, we don't need to go back and open it up, but on D, the Kaiser Properties. I remember from the previous go-around a couple of years ago, there was quite a bit of drainage. This drains downhill, and I think there's even a creek that's in it toward the church. And they need to get a hydraulic study done, and no matter what they plan on putting there, because that other guy, the other one, I think we put that in there also. But Tim, do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Will require it. I mean, whatever goes in there.
Yes,
needs
sir.
that.
Generally, Steve, they want to know if the use is even going to be allowed before they spend money on something like a drainage study, which would be at the site plan stage if the board were to move forward and allow it. So the drainage study is going to happen, but it doesn't have to happen if you guys say that use is not allowed. So there's an opportunity to make sure that gets done. But I think it's important for folks to know on the front end, they will have potentially something
Right.
like that as an additional expense.
Well, the reason I said that was on the front end, they didn't come to us and say, what are we gonna have to do if we want this?
Yes, sir.
Before they started and
I got you.
even maybe bought it. Mark is standing up or something. Mr. Baker.
I was just wanting to offer if the board would allow, I don't know, I assume that the public hearing was set for the 15th. I represent Rick Caraway and Rick Lucer. And I'm looking at the conditions of the conditional use, so I'm assuming at the public hearing, we're gonna go through these elements to decide the board's gonna consider that. I assume maybe take action on the 15th.
Yes, sir.
Some concerns that we have generally apply to all of the elements.
Come on up a little bit, Mark.
The concerns that we have, and I'm not saying they're fatal concerns, they're just concerns that we have that we don't have answers to, apply to the elements that are going to be considered by the board. For example, as was raised by Mr. Gaines, the question of the environmental issues with regard to the water runoff and the wetlands issues there. I'm concerned that there won't be in 10 days a plan before the board that you actually see what's there, and what the drainage is going to be, and what is going to be impacted with regard to, if I may,
Is there wetlands there now?
we believe that there are some wetlands. Now, whether or not they're formally designated in that regard, but there are clearly drainage issues. I haven't pulled the actual maps on that, but I think there's some serious issues in that area with regard to the, if I got it right here. So as I perceive it, what is currently being proposed is something akin to this. Everything that occurs in this bottom home plate looking area is wet. And they're proposing to improve this and use it for some purpose. We have concerns with that, and I think the board should ask for the appropriate information with regard to what impacts that will have with regard to the adjoining properties from the standpoint of the wetlands. The other issues that we have with regard to this particular project is with regard to the aesthetics of what is intended to be done. And I understand the applicant's trying to save some money and want to find out on the front end whether or not this is something that the board would approve. But the problem is that on the 15th, you're going to have a conditional use hearing. And so you're going to be asked to consider the questions about with regard to whether there's a general compatibility with the area, which I think requires that there be something more than a depiction here, but actually get some renderings of what they intend to put in. Not so these are some of the things that I'm thinking about. In addition to that, part of the ordinance that you're going to be looking at requires you to consider the screening and buffering. And so nothing has been presented, and I don't know if they'll have time in 10 days to present to you the information that shows what they intend to do with the screening and the buffering. And then finally, lighting, which is also a part of screening and buffering. If in fact this is intended to be outdoor parking, overnight, extended campers, boats, whatever, what is the lighting plan that is going to be proposed? Because we've not seen any of that in the application. And I understand that it may be a situation where you say, well, we're going to look at that after we consider whether we're going to grant the conditional use. But the problem is that obviously for the adjoining landowners, that's some concern. And the good news is that you have a great ordinance here that allows you to have all these questions answered at or before the public hearing phase. So the adjoining landowners can then decide whether or not they have a problem, because fundamentally, the concept is one thing, but the application is entirely another. And the good news about a conditional use process in your ordinance is you get an opportunity not to only to look at the former, but the latter, which in many cases is much more important to the adjoining landowners. And so I would just commit that to you, and I don't know if this would be ready for a hearing on the 15th, but that's certainly your call, but we do have some concerns, and we'll address those whenever the
Are the
board.
concerns about the whole project or just outside storage?
No, sir, I don't think fundamentally, we understand that this project is going to be developed someday, okay? We understand that there will be a use that is maybe somewhat similar to this at some point, or some other use. That's a given based on the designation of zoning. And so there's the adjoining landowners that I represent are not coming to you and saying, oh, well, by the way, we want it to be in grass, and we'd just like to just be able to drive by it and see it. But actually, they're differing views. Rick's property is kind of on the backside, and Kirk has to drive by it. And so Kirk has more of an aesthetic view consideration when it comes to what is he driving by every day. And Rick has real concerns about how does this impact his property, because as it stands now, he can't build here primarily without, the church is over here, and so it runs, so I understand, that way. And so there are creek issues and stuff there. So fundamentally, the issue is not so much is it going to be a storage type thing? The issue is to what extent. And there are real concerns from Rick's standpoint about this back home plate diamond looking area. This is of serious concern, and Kirk has very serious concerns about the soft aesthetics on the front of these buildings as you see them.
Some people may not know what we're talking about. This is a real sensitive corner. It's a corner, Baker Lane and 471. Flowood city limits is right across the road. This area can be developed in pristine manner, or we can put used car lots and boat storages and tattoo parlors and stuff. Well, I'm getting off a little bit, but I want to be careful that, once we mess up on this corner, it's messed up. The guy that was previously going to do this showed us plans of buying the whole corner. And I'm talking about down both roads, about 600-800 foot, putting some 2-story office buildings and things, really high end. And then he had a storage thing down here that had a good front on it. But in this case, this is totally different. And whatever's going to be fronting, I want it to be something that will draw other businesses to that area and not offend other businesses.
Well, and to that extent, Mr. Gaines, we're on the same page there. We have some serious concerns that I don't know that they're going to be properly addressed for the board to take consideration by the 15th. They may, or the board may want to take the consideration that if they're not, fine, they're not. We'll have to deal with it and act accordingly. But I just want to bring you those issues to your attention, and it may be that we deal with it on the 15th and move on.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, where are we now? H?
If I may, Mark, do you want the remarks that you made here to be included in whenever the public hearing occurs? Do you want these to be incorporated into that public hearing?
They can, or I'll be back.
Okay. I'm just making sure, just in case something happens to you and.
No.
Oh, Lord.
Gee, that wasn't a good play.
I'm going to say no, that may be for sure I'll be back.
It's not that we're wanting anything to happen to you or anything like that, but just in case. All right.
Okay,
Very good.
H.
Mr. President, item H is a public hearing on the Paul and Kim Edwards conditional use permit at Bragg Street, District 4 property. I believe the Edwards are here, yes, okay. Paul and Kim Edwards are seeking a conditional use permit to construct a home with metal siding on Bragg Street. They own a 3.52 acre parcel. The property is zoned RE1. RE1 does not allow for metal exterior on residence. The home will contain 2,400 square feet of heated and cooled living space. There will be a 4-car garage, which also will contain 2,400 square feet. The home will have a brick or stone wainscot around the bottom 3 feet. That public hearing is open. I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition on the Paul and Kim Edwards conditional use permit request. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition. Mr. and Ms. Edwards are present if the board has any questions. Otherwise, we will close that public hearing and it'll be appropriate to take action.
I have one comment that has been satisfied. I'd had a couple of calls for, in some way, some neighbors, or not even maybe neighbors, were worried that such a large garage would it be some type of automobile shop or, you know, that type deal. And they have assured me, and I think the neighbors, that this is for personal parking. Therefore, I approve it.
You wanna make that part of a condition, anything?
Nah.
No? Okay. All right, motion approved by Ms. Gaines, second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Very good.
Thank y'all.
Mr. President, we're ready to move on. Item I is acknowledge a 1-year extension of our loan maintenance agreement with Expressive Lawn Care as outlined in the contract that was approved May 6, 2019. Terms and conditions remain unchanged.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Jay,
Second.
second by Steve. All in favor, say aye. All
Aye.
opposed?
Mr. President, item J is it's a follow-up to a project that has already been approved by the board. This is a repair of an earthen dam structure that has Buckingham Place, which is a public street running across the top of it. This is to acknowledge that we have received at no cost to the county a temporary access from the adjoining property owner so that we might access the area where a culvert needs to be replaced. With a contingency having been satisfied, authority to proceed to repair Buckingham Place to replace the drain pipe. As shown, authority to provide geotechnical in that area because we're affecting the dam, authority to do all things necessary and take all actions necessary to effect the repair.
Yeah, I make a motion. Approve.
Motion approved by Daniel,
Second.
second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Item K, Mr. President, is acknowledgement of receipt of application for amendment to our solid waste management plan submitted by Southern Tire Recycling in Florence. This will be to allow Southern Tire Recycling to actually add a tire processing component to their facility. This will allow them a better and more efficient and more streamlined approach. This is the only tire recycler that we've got in the county, and they seem to do a good job for us. So we got to go through this step of actually convening a public hearing, which we will do on May the 14th at 9 o'clock. You guys need to set that, and you need to publish notice for that public hearing to speak on that.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Jay,
Second.
second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Item L, authority of the board president to execute an agreement on behalf of Rankin County Youth Court to provide counseling services. This is at JDC, Turning Point Counseling Service. The big thing you need to know about this is you have to authorize it, but it's an agreement between youth court and the counseling facility. All of the cost of that is paid for by grant funds. If the grant funds go away, there is no way to pay for it. The program stops.
Okay.
There's no obligation on the part of the county.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Jay, second by Brad. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Item M is an approval or consideration of approval of an animal variance for Christina Shepherd at 1109 Fairway Cove. Ms. Janice, are there folks to speak on that matter?
Yeah.
And I think Justin was in here at one
Well,
time.
I think, Craig, I've talked to the sheriff on this issue, and I've got several emails from the people that are there, and I know the sheriff's gonna look into it a little more to be sure everything is square on both ends, the parties over in Bay Point and with our ordinances that are there. So I'm gonna make a motion to approve it contingent on, the sheriff's findings out there and everybody's good on that, so.
Do what?
You want the
We-
people to come in?
We've got
Are they
several.
here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
we've got
They
several
didn't come in.
folks.
Okay.
Daniel,
I had received some emails that weren't coming.
Okay.
So I guess they've shown up now?
I've
Is that right?
got, I know Mr. Yates has
think
signed
they're
in
outside.
and the
Okay.
applicant has signed in.
See if they're out there.
Okay.
So they can hear that part.
Sure, bring them in for sure.
Um,
I know Justin was going back out this morning or reaching back out to some of those parties, so.
She's reading.
I've got,
Christina Shepherd,
We got it.
I think.
send, I'm trying to send Ms. Shepherd in.
Extra clip in there. Is that a gun, that extra clip? Oh, that's part, that's all one, I got you.
Justin,
Okay.
You think I can get it in mine?
All right, you can come up to the podium.
I'm speaking in opposition.
Okay,
Okay.
good. Just
Just
if
a
you
minute,
would,
hang on just a second.
if you would, once you start talking, just tell us your name and your address and all
I got it all. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget none of it.
Okay.
I appreciate the time and opportunity to speak to you on behalf. I'm Susan Yates. I'm the Secretary Treasurer of the Bay Point Homeowners Association. And this has been an ongoing issue with the Shepherds and this pit bull. They let this dog go out all hours and it's chased people.
All right. Do me one thing, just so everybody here can understand. Just tell them about where the dog lives and
Okay,
the location and in a subdivision, stuff like that.
This
Give them
dog-
some background. Is what I'm
Okay.
saying. So.
This has been going on since 2019, and I actually emailed you, sir, and that's what got the ball rolling, and the sheriff's investigated it. The dog is located at 1109 Fairway Cove, and they let this dog out loose. Mrs. Shepherd's told me numerous times how the kids have let the dog out. Well, you know, responsibility as an owner, they are not. These, not only now do they have the pit bull, they also have a German Shepherd that we've been getting calls about a loose dog and couldn't figure out who the dog was until last week. And they said, oh, that's Shepherd's dog. They got another dog. And I went, they can't take care of the one they had. Anyway, our problem with this is this dog has been a continual issue. And of course, it all happens after animal control is gone at night. There was a call on the 24th of March to the Sheriff's Department. They said, well, there's nobody there. And so I didn't even realize they were trying to get a variance permit to keep this pit bull. I wouldn't have never found out had it not been, they let the dog out. It chased the lady and her little dog again all the way home. And I called and spoke to Officer Flanagan at the Sheriff's Department, and he said, well, you realize they're doing applying for a variance permit? And I said, they have to have a kennel. And he said, oh, they've done that. And I said, it's not approved. And there was no permit for one through Pearl River Valley Water. And so he said, yeah, and they're having a meeting, and that's when I contacted you and said,
To the Board of Supervisors, not Pearl River Valley, right?
yes, sir.
Okay.
I contacted James Siemens at the Pearl River Valley Building and Permits, and he said there was no permit issued for that residence, for any structure, which everything has to be permitted through the Pearl River Valley for a permit to build anything on any said lot in that lease land.
Right.
The Shepherds are not actual owners, they are tenants. And I'm not sure if the owners even realize they built a structure on that property without approval from the HOA board, nor a permit. I haven't found that out yet.
Can I jump in and just make sure we're all on the same page about what you just heard?
Yeah.
So there apparently, what Ms. Yates is indicating here is that there is a secondary permit process, secondary to us, a secondary permit process that involves Pearl River Valley. This is leasehold property
Yes, sir.
through Pearl River Valley. So what Ms. Yates just told you is that our pen enclosure that is a part of our variance may in fact have to be permitted by Pearl River Valley. First time I've ever heard that.
I didn't know that.
I would not have assumed that an accessory structure like that would have to be permitted under their leasehold. My assumption would be that Pearl River Valley would uniformly grant those because they are a requirement of Rankin County to have a wild animal housed. I wouldn't expect them to deny a request like that, but she does raise a good point, which is, should we somehow begin inquiring when we start down this road of an animal variance as to whether or not the proposed location is on leasehold property with Pearl River? We've never done that before. It's never been something we looked at.
I have a
So-
question.
Yes, sir.
People that live in Bay Point, all of that's PRV. So every one of the people that live there are called tenants.
In essence, they
Is
are.
that right?
That's correct.
So it's just pointing out that
We
they're
own-
not owners, they're tenants.
We own the improvement on the lot.
Right.
So we own the improvement. They don't own the improvement. They are a tenant to the owner of the improvement. is
What
how-
about you? What would you call yourself?
Sorry?
Would you call yourself a tenant?
I'm an owner.
You're an owner.
I'm an owner of the property.
So you're not in Bay Point.
I am in Big Point.
I thought
I'm
we
right
said
around the
all.
corner from them.
Said they just rent.
Yeah.
You own the
They're
improvement,
renters. They're
not the
renters of the
lot.
house.
Okay.
Leaseholder
Alright.
is not occupying the dwelling.
Okay, I understand now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, to clarify that. The other thing, before Pearl River actually approves a permit, it has to be approved by the HOA. And there's a process that they have to go through for that. We were never notified that they were even applying for a variance permit to keep this dog, and that's why we're in opposition of it. If, I have no problem having a dog. It's that they're responsible and take ownership of it. This dog roams free. It goes to the bathroom in the neighbors' yards. They never clean up after it. I mean, it's been an ongoing issue, and the dog chases. This one lady called me at 9:45 at night, and she said the pit bull chased me, and her husband could hear the dog, or their little dog yipping, and she's yelling, trying to get ahead, and this lady's in her late 60s. So the thing is, it isn't just one incident. This has been going on for 2 years.
Ma'am, has the dog ever bit anyone or anything?
No, most of them, like now, she carries one of those, it's aggressive though. It hasn't bit anybody, but it's aggressive. My key is this. If, in a worst case scenario, if you had a young child walking a little dog, and this dog come after it, and the dog got the dog, what's that child's action gonna be? Is try to separate them dogs. And if you've ever seen a dog maul a child, that is nothing none of us ever wanna incur. And us, as a board, we're trying to protect the residents that live there, that own the property. You know, and like I said, it isn't one incident, it's 2, 3, ongoing. They just let the dogs roam. This German Shepherd, I wouldn't have never known it was theirs until I went to get another resident to take and send an email to Mr. Cross in opposition of these people getting a permit. And I said, there's that German Shepherd, where does it live? And she goes, oh, that's the Shepherd's. And I was like, and it's loose during the day, and it goes out and it goes to the bathroom on the things. It chases golfers, you know. It's an ongoing issue. And the thing is, when we get this resolved, this matter is going to be referred to our corporation attorney.
So I think that's one thing you guys need to be aware of, is that there's really two pieces that, one of which I was totally unaware of, which is this PRV question about permit. I think we need to at least find out from PRV's leadership whether or not is that an issue? Is that something that they believe they need to address as a part of the leasehold requirement? Because if the answer is no, we do not agree that that is a matter that needs to be addressed with us, we would automatically permit a, quote, pen enclosure required by a county ordinance. We'll automatically acknowledge that. Then that's not an issue for us in the future going forward. And so unrelated to this action, I want to find out the answer to that, period.
Right.
We need to start asking that question.
Do other people in the Bay Point, do they have pens or shelters for?
No, sir. There's not one in our 100 lots. There is not one. Also in our covenants, it states you cannot have a cyclone wire enclosure, period. if they do have like a little dog or whatever. But, you know, I've read your guys' ordinance on what they have to have in order to maintain, quote, a vicious dog. There was no way, this house that they live in backs up to a fairway that's in public view all day. There's no way the board would allow to have a enclosed, cement floored, enclosed with the top, cyclone fence enclosure for an animal. There's no way the board would have approved it, because it's totally against our covenants.
So you guys do not enforce private restrictive covenants, homeowners association restricted covenants. We don't ever get in the middle of that stuff. We stay out of that with all of our fiber. We try to stay out of the middle of that. So if there is an HOA issue, it may be an irresolvable conflict on the basis of where this location is, right? So
Sounds like
what's before you is not an HOA restrictive covenant issue. What before you is not a PRV permitting issue. What's before you is, are we in a position at this stage to either grant or deny a variance request under our ordinance, all things being equal, right?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where it falls back to Deputy Flanagan there. So if he wants to address it, or
Ms. Shepherd
okay,
probably would.
sure. I mean,
Yeah.
we can hear from both of those, but also from the same point, if Justin wants to speak or address it, or
Ms. Yates, are you through? Do you have anything else you'd
No,
like to add?
that's it. I just
Okay.
wanted
Thank
you
you.
all to understand what we've been going through and what the issues at hand are. Not only is it about the dog being roaming the areas, but our covenants
Right.
and
Yeah.
Pearl River Valleys. And like I said, Pearl River is in their rules and regulations. You can look that up online under structures. And you'll see theirs kind of over caps ours. However, again, they will not issue a permit unless the HOA approves it.
Sounds like it can be
Can I
more.
be clear?
Yeah.
You said this dog has been out 2 or 3 times?
Oh, no, it's been going on for over 2 years. And when they put in a deal, when I got a hold of Mr. Cross and Officer Flanagan got into it, there was an agreement with the county sheriffs and the shepherds, which I never seen any part of, but that the dog would not be housed or in Rankin County, period. And in fact, the dog had come back for a vet appointment, and she told me that it was just there for the weekend. Again, it had gotten out. And I said, you can't do this, Christine. You can't not let that dog out. Well, don't call the sheriffs because I can get in trouble and be fined. And we just got the kid. I understand everybody has issues, but my thing is, and the boards, the HOA board, we're not trying to be ugly about anything. We're trying to protect everyone. Why can't people walk in their own neighborhood at night without having to be chased by a pit bull?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's our,
All right.
that's our
and,
thing.
and,
So-
and thank you for y'all's
Yeah,
emails.
thank
And I
you.
appreciate y'all. Thank you
sounds
very
like
much for
it's getting
listening
ahead
to
of
us.
us.
Before Ms. Yates leaves, I want to apologize to her. I did do some research, and our dispatcher did tell her that animal control only worked 8 to 5. That is a lie. That's not true. Everybody I have works any time of the day or the night.
I know.
And they should have sent somebody out there, so that I take full responsibility for that. And I'm addressing it right now, that we will always have somebody available to
Well,
respond.
I appreciate that.
apologize for
Okay.
I appreciate that.
All right.
So-
All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, who we want next?
I think we need
Greg.
to
You
hear
wanna
from
hear
the
from,
dog.
Let's hear,
Let's-
we need to hear from
Justin can tell
somebody.
us kind of what's going on.
We're
We're gonna let you
Okay,
talk in
well.
a second, I promise.
Yeah.
all right,
Tell us give us the update.
All right, I've got guys that have been handling this.
Mhm.
The initial was about the dog being there. It had gotten out and chased somebody. We went over, the agreement was you either get in compliance with our ordinance or you get the dog out of the county. The dog left the county until a vet appearance came up where the dog had to go to the vet, so they brought it over. Well, as soon as the dog hit the water, they were called, we got calls about it. And it was, hey, you get this taken care of, get the dog back out of the county, which they did. Well, now she's wanted to go to the part of the agreement where she gets in compliance with the ordinance instead of having the dog out of the county. She's done what she's supposed to do as far as a pen goes in the county's eyes. And we've signed off on, she's got the proper insurance, we've signed off on her variance slip, and it's up to the board to approve it now.
well, it sounds like it's a little deeper than we thought now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
PRV.
All right, okay.
Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
Thank you.
All
All right,
right,
Ms.
your
Shepherd.
turn. Thank you
Good morning.
Good morning.
for being patient.
That's fine. One thing that I did want to address first is about the Pearl River Valley. The pen, enclosed pen, is not visible. We have a deck that's about 8 foot and you can go underneath it. So my husband lined it out with the fence underneath it. The top part is the flooring of the deck. The bottom is concrete. And they said that was fine as long as it wasn't visible. We're
Who
not
said it was
doing
fine?
Pearl River Valley.
Oh, you've talked to PRV.
Yes, and my husband talked to him, and the sheriff's department that came out there. We asked them if this was approval as well, because I mean it's enclosed. It's just underneath a deck, so it has a top, it has concrete, and even underneath the deck that's already outlined with the lattice, we still added inside of it the gate, like a pen, I guess you would say.
But you don't see any kind of cyclone
No,
fencing?
none. We knew that we would not be able to get it approved to pour concrete on the golf course because we are on the golf course. So that was the only thing that my husband could think of that would pass the guidelines because it has its concrete floor, it's 6 feet, it's closed. I mean, not only that, but she's about to be 11. She's old. She can't even jump and get in the car.
Well, that explains why she hadn't caught anybody.
She's not fast enough.
I mean, someone that's 60 that can outrun a pit bull, pretty impressive.
I know.
Hey, have you got, because this is probably not gonna be something we can decide on, but have you gotten, approval, though? You got something that says they've approved that? PRV has, other than just a verbal?
Just the verbal. They didn't have to come out and approve anything because we didn't do anything on the like outside visible on the property. Like it wasn't construction.
I got you, okay.
I do want to point out something else. These are 4 different dogs in our neighborhood. This is mine, right here. This is one that was brought to our house asking if this is your dog. Clearly that's not my dog. This is a male, it's 2 years old, it lives in the front of the neighborhood. Gets out. This is a Facebook message from someone in the back of the neighborhood that says, hey, I see your dog up front. This is not my dog, but it is a silver, it does favor her. This is a dog beside mine so that I could have proof to Miss Susan that this is a dog that gets out. This is the one that barks at golfers. This has been brought to my house several times.
Not your dog, but been
Not
brought
my
to your
dog.
house.
Is it the same one?
What about the German Shepherd?
The German Shepherd is a 6-month-old puppy. It runs with my dog and his little friend. Both of their dogs run together. They do run loose sometimes, and I do get on to him about it.
But is it the German Shepherd yours or your friend's?
No, it is ours.
Okay.
It is ours.
6
She's
months
6
old.
months old.
Big puppy.
But the boys all play together, and I mean, they just, they let their dogs play together too. But I have gotten on to him about that. We've been here since 2015. And she has gotten out a few times. We have 6 children. That's another thing. I would not have a vicious animal if I thought that there was any chance of her doing anything. And Ms. Yates made a point also earlier that they want to protect, and they're all about if a child gets mauled. Have you ever been in the shoes when someone's been mauled? I have. This is my little boy who is here today, who was mauled down by a husky that lived across the street from us. Nothing happened.
In this neighborhood?
Bay Point, yes. That's him. He was mauled down. As far as my dog getting out the few times that she has gotten out that I'm aware of, we have now adjusted. 6 kids, it happens, they leave the gate, but we put latches now for the 3 and the 5-year-old where they can't get these undone. They can't open them. The few times that she has been brought back was for the vet because she is sick. That's another thing that I just don't believe that she's chasing people down. In the middle of the night, I don't think it's fair to say that it was my dog because there's several dogs that favor Nala.
So there are more than one pit bull
There's more than one
in
pit
your
bull.
neighborhood?
Yes.
Wow.
And they are all right here.
Is there more than 2
Can we see
that
them?
you're aware of?
Can we see those pictures?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Is there more than 2 that you're aware of?
There's only three, these three.
Yours and
There's
two
three.
more.
So there is a picture of two different ones then, other than yours.
Right.
Okay.
Where the
All right.
addresses of where the other ones are?
I don't. In fact, I also have a text message that says, "Are you at home? Yes. Is Nala inside? I thought I saw her the front of the road at the main road." I said, "Yes, she's inside."
Those all look just alike.
She said it was the house on the left when you come in. So the first street on the left, I do know that there is a male pit that has a white check. But Nala,
Yeah, I'm good on it.
she's here today, by the way. I brought her here.
Your dog?
Yes.
Oh, no.
She's out there with my son.
Yeah, that's.
She's out in
Well,
the
I'm just
lobby?
saying,
She's
that's
in the
how.
lobby?
Do what now?
She's in the lobby?
She's in the front of the building.
Oh.
But I mean, that's how confident I am that I could bring her in here. There's no aggression. And I've already been through a child that's been mauled down by a different dog, a husky dog.
Did y'all make a report about the one that bit your child?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Well, you know, unfortunately, pit bulls, they do have a stigmatism goes with them, you know.
They do.
So, you know,
They
that's,
do.
something we have to be aware of, but, you know, we do, you know, follow our ordinances and act accordingly.
Right.
But, you know, if
So
we
this
were
is-
to pass this, you definitely need to take care of your, not just your pit, but your German Shepherd, you know,
Right.
getting out, so.
This is yours then with the little boy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And
and
the
I
other
mean,
two?
here's several pictures with the baby. I mean, she goes to PetSmart, she goes to Bass Pro every year, gets Santa pictures with us. I mean, she has been raised when we used to have a miniature potbelly pig. I mean, there's a picture of her laying with the miniature potbelly pig. So, I mean, there's no signs of aggression over the past
Well,
11 years.
The main thing, whether it's aggression or not, is that, that it is what it is, you have to be in compliance.
Right.
And what I see, I think the sheriff's made a point to say, where are these others? And you make a good point, just from what I'm hearing. There are some others in the neighborhood, and there could be some confusion, especially at night, where this animal came from, if it happened to get out at night. But I mean, I can see where it could be some confusion if there are more than one in the neighborhood.
You can't tell if it's
Right.
white, black, or.
Right. At
Well,
night,
my
you wouldn't
point
know.
too, an older lady saying that she's chasing. I mean, a dog has a purpose of chasing you. And I just don't see a little dog and an older woman outrunning a pit bull or any big dog for that matter. And I just don't think it's fair. I mean, it's all
Well, it may
hearsay.
not be yours, is what I'm saying. It
Right,
sounds like the
exactly.
issue may not be yours at all.
I mean, now we put something on her that if they call and they say, hey, she's wearing this or this is on her, then okay, I'll take the responsibility. But this is, to me, it's all hearsay. There's no proof other than someone making a phone call, a silver dog chase. We know it's a shepherd because we would walk our dog out in the opening. I mean, we weren't trying to hide it. We were trying to meet the guidelines. But we've been there since 2015 and she's almost 12 and there's no reports of her being aggressive or anything. So,
Well,
but
I'm
if we
glad-
try to address our children, don't leave the gate open, do not let her out.
I'm glad your son's okay. That was lucky. Horrible.
He was very lucky.
Yeah.
He was real lucky.
Horrible.
One more inch and it would have been worse.
What we need to do here.
Yes, sir.
No, we got two things going on here.
You've got before you the matter of the consideration, potential approval of the variance request. You've heard from the sheriff through Justin that the investigation shows that as far as the county's wild animal variance request issue is on the table, that there is now compliance. You've got the insurance in place, you've got an adequate pen enclosure that meets our requirements, and so those boxes are checked. What the board needs to address at this point is, are we satisfied that just by virtue of your approving the ordinance, is there full compliance with something else that may be out there? PRV. Is that issue adequately addressed to your satisfaction? Do you care? Is it something we need to address on part of the staff before we go any farther, before you consider anything else? Is that something you want to know, is my point, before you make a decision? Second
Well, go ahead. I'm
issue
sorry.
beyond PRV is it a concern that there could be an HOA restrictive covenant issue that while we're not going to enforce that, it does, it would be appropriate for you guys to wait on that matter being resolved before you allow the variance. That's where I don't know.
Well, I don't know,
Y'all-
can we, I mean, if we choose, either way, but if we choose, could we, I mean, if we approved it, it still could get overridden by PRV or the homeowners.
Yes, sir, and I think that
As far as
is-
what we're
is the
saying,
point.
what our people are saying, is it in compliance to what we?
That's correct.
Is it?
So it would need to be really clear on the part of the applicant especially, but also on the part of the HOA representative, that just because the county grants a variance does not mean that that is the end of the matter.
Right.
So that's what's before you. Do you want to go ahead and address the variance request now? Or do you wait and get information about those two other issues before you make your decision? That's where you stand.
Could we do it with, you know?
Contingent?
Yeah. on
You
those.
could do a contingency if you believe that you've heard enough about this issue of your own ordinance, you've heard enough information and you're satisfied, but you would like to make it contingent on the satisfaction of those other two issues, and wait for a formal response from both PRV and from the HOA before you actually indicate that the permit is issued. If that's the way you want to do it, that works. That would work.
Justin, you are satisfied with the regs that we have, I
Yes,
assume
sir.
that.
Yes, sir. I've had, both of my north end guys go by there, and they've checked everything out, and we are satisfied with, what they've seen.
Sound like we may have some others out there that aren't in compliance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, and that will be addressed. It's, you know, that house on the left, it's hard to find.
Oh, I agree.
So when we get addresses, we address it immediately.
Mhm.
It's not something that goes under the radar.
Right, I
We
know.
get that taken care of as
I know
quickly
y'all
as we
done a
can.
very good job. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate it. Mhm.
Yes, sir.
I'm
But as
making-
far as animal control is concerned, we're satisfied with what she's provided to keep the dog up. As long as she understands that if the dog is outside of the house, it needs to be on the leash or in the pen.
I mean, this is, we approve it, it is a variance that we can withdraw if you can't keep it, you know.
Yeah.
Getting an address for them, would it be helpful too? That may let them see, others see that it's
Absolutely.
just not your dog, the only one there.
Right, absolutely. And I understand at some point you don't wanna be that person, you know, that you've got a pit bull, you call on other pit bull owners and stuff like that. But it could save you the heartache later on down the road, because, you know, if we get the call and it's yours, the first thing I'm gonna do is call and talk to these guys, and they're gonna say, hey, let's pull that variance, and then you gotta get the dog back out of the county.
Or if a dog gets bitten by one, I mean, a child or somebody bitten by one, you're the one that's kind of on the hot seat here, well, sure, we're gonna look at you first.
Right.
Yeah. And you would do the same thing.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to say about it before we move on is that the safety of the people, the kids playing and people walking their dogs is a critical element to me.
Right.
Critical element, and from the children walking or whatever. So I just want to be sure that everybody understands that issue, that it's very, very important that we comply with the regulations that are out there. And if we have other dogs that are in that neighborhood running wild, that we get control of them.
With 6 children, I think you understand that.
It's also understood that if the board approves your variance and Pearl River Valley or your homeowners association has the problem, we're
Right.
not gonna be there to enforce it, but
Right.
they're well within their rights to come by and say, hey, you owe $450 or whatever the price is for them, for you to be in compliance or to get the dog out or whatever. So, just, you
And
know,
Ms.
know
Shepherd-
that going through all this doesn't mean it's the end of it. Yeah.
Ms. Shepherd can tell you, I addressed about the pit. From house to leash out of the house, into the car, wherever you go, and it's not gonna be out of your control.
Okay, all
Any
right.
dogs owned by anybody, especially in subdivisions, leash law is enforced.
Right.
Okay.
All right, I'm prepared to make a motion. I think from the deputy, and what we've heard, as far as our guidelines, they meet it. But there are other things that she's got to show, to, I guess, the PRV and the homeowners. I would like to make a motion that we table it until we have some results that we can look at and make a decision to where we're all in unison. And I don't know that we'd have to have law enforcement back in and all that. We have the information other than what the homeowners, and by tabling it, I don't know if that means that they can keep the dog until we get past that, if they're in compliance with the counties. I mean, that's a lawyer answer, I guess.
think they
Yeah.
could.
Steve, I think
I
you
would-
can. You can make as a part of your motion that you are authorizing the property owner to retain possession of the animal pending the
Okay.
final decision of the board.
I think it's good.
But clearly, it needs to come with the warning that the animal has to stay in the pen enclosure if it's gonna be outside the home, right? It needs to be in the pen enclosure or under leash.
Yes.
Total control. And I would suggest leashed by an adult, okay? That way you don't run into the issue of kids letting the animal get loose. That would be my suggestion. And I believe, just looking, I'm looking out here, are we gonna have a work session on the 29th? You know,
Yes, I think so.
I'm trying to give you a date to table to, Steve, so that
Yes.
everyone here is on notice when the matter will be back before the
So
board.
get it resolved as soon as
Yes, sir,
possible.
that's
Yeah.
right. And I'm trying to give enough time so
Yes.
that the process with
29.
PRV and the process with the HOA can move forward and have time to get completed.
All right, we have all the information we need from the county, so these other two entities need to be here or give us some
Some
answer
contact. yeah.
by the 29th. If they don't, then I'm gonna consider that they're not interested and we just move on. Because I don't want somebody to use this table to an advantage and go on, and 6 months later, we're back in here and she's saying, well, what's the answer? So,
Yeah,
let's,
because it seems like she's done everything
Yeah.
to comply with what we need.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And Ms. Yates, back to the HOA, discussion needs to be had there on approval on that side of it, right?
I'm sorry.
Y'all need to get with the resident.
Oh, yeah, had we known that, because I talked to her, it was on the 24th of
Yeah.
March, I called her, or texted her, I said, Christine, is your dog back here in
Yeah.
the, community? She said, it's not my dog, it's not my dog.
Okay.
And I said, is the dog back? No, it's that other dog. Well, she knows where those other dogs are at.
So do
She
you,
knows who owns those dogs, and she won't reveal it.
do you know where they are?
No, one's back in Pine Ridge in a cove, she told me once, but she didn't know which cove.
I'm saying, you know where the other dogs are that she's talking
No,
about?
sir, I do not.
Okay.
I do not.
Well, and again, if you see the dogs out unleashed, then the call to the sheriff's office needs
Yeah,
to be
because
made.
it's not, probably not gonna be hers. It's probably gonna be somebody
Well,
else's.
Well, mine has a description. I mean, I would like to point this out. We have done put something on her that obviously someone's gonna say she has this on. We have put that on her now so that way no one can just say, hey, it's a silver dog, it's a silver foot. Yes.
Okay.
Because there are so many in the neighborhood, so it's not hearsay or whatever. We have put something on, whether it's a purple collar or this or that. We have something on her now that identifies her. Separate
Okay.
from the other ones.
So the way that I think, Steve, you want to leave this is the staff will make the effort to get PRV's acknowledgement that the pen enclosure satisfies PRV's issue, okay?
Okay.
But the
I would-
issue
I would
of
like
the-
that to be really on PRV to get us.
Well, I mean, she needs to contact PRV
Yeah.
to get something.
We-
Don't
we-
you
if
think?
they don't
Let's talk about
respond.
our
then
staff.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Let's talk about our staff.
Well, yeah, okay.
Chasing
Yeah.
them down.
Yeah, we don't need to chase them down.
I mean, I don't mind one phone call, but if they,
Yeah,
No, we don't need to cross-examine them.
point taken. It seems to me that we may have a better opportunity to get what we're looking for on our side, to satisfy my own curiosity about how PRV interacts with our ordinance. I need to know that answer, because I think that's going to necessitate possibly our changing our process internally from going now on. I need to address that part. And I can do that without involving this issue
Okay.
specifically, but my thought was, let this be the reason for the call, and then get the answer that I'm looking for. But I'm satisfied to let them handle that piece of it. The issue with the HOA seems to me we would be well served to simply say that if the HOA has not indicated in writing its position by the time of the 29th, we're going to assume that they are not in opposition and we're going to move forward.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
All right.
All right.
All right,
A
that's
motion by, Mr. Gaines to table it, second by, Ms. Cross. Any more discussion?
Jay seconded.
Jay, well,
She's
he
got
raised
one
his
more
hand.
question.
No.
He raised his hand. Jay seconded. Huh?
I have a question. If the HOA does not approve this, where do we stand then?
You'll need to move the dog.
We can't override HOA. Well, yeah, that's their.
Will they have to have reasoning?
We don't get involved in HOA.
It's a private matter between private property owners and the HOA at that point. You would need to secure legal
But it
counsel.
sounds like they're going to remove several. Maybe even one that bit your child.
There's a good lawyer sitting in the back there.
Oh, I work for attorneys.
It's heard the whole thing.
I work for attorneys.
That's when he came back in. He's taking
A
notes.
reason for them to do it. More than just a dog getting out.
All right.
Okay.
We don't get involved in HOA. We can't.
Right.
Well, no, we just don't want to be making decisions in opposition to what the rules are of a
That's what
standing
we-
community.
Right.
But they
Right.
would need a substantial reason, not just your dog getting out.
Right, and that's what I want to make sure.
Right.
You know, that it's not personal,
Yeah.
that there's
Correct.
going to be an
Correct.
actual reasoning,
Right.
I think you,
other than hearsay.
I think you got enough information with others in the neighborhood
Yeah.
to have a valid point there.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we got a first and a
Well,
second.
Yep, we got a motion and a second by Jay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you.
That matter is tabled
All
to
right.
April the 29th at 9 a.m.
Okay,
April the 29th at 9 a.m.
all right. Keith,
Hey,
get
while
ready.
we're on this dog thing, could we grandfather all the pit bulls or bulldog type that are here now and just say, we don't allow bulldogs in Rankin County?
Well,
Pit bulls.
Pit bull, I'm talking about whatever you call them, vicious.
I think it's more than one breed that's
Right,
vicious.
on the list.
it's vicious, aggressiveness.
Yes, I don't think you want to go there.
You know, but we just take Pearl out of the picture.
Let me explain that
I don't think
I
you
have
don't allow it.
represented other political subdivisions that have taken the position of outright ban of these vicious breeds, as we refer to them. And those include pits, those include Staffordshire Terriers, those include, I would put chows in there. That's that
Chow?
dog I hate worse than anything on the planet. Anybody's got a chow, if I've offended you, I don't apologize. I can't stand them. They're horrible. I thought, while I got the soapbox, I thought I'd just throw that in there, just for any chow owner.
I hadn't seen a child in a long time. I forgot about
Keith
that.
has got
Staffordshire Terriers,
got one?
pits,
He's about to cry over it.
Rottweilers, those are all inclusive, because they have the strain of DNA that runs it's a common thread through all of those breeds, okay? They're unpredictable, and they have tendencies that allow for situations that are uncontrollable to easily come forward, and that is where they are overly exercised in an aggressive way because of the presence of another dog, primarily, or behavior that they deem to be of the type that is prey-oriented. They are predators. So they are hunter predators, all right? So I have been a part of political subdivisions in the past that have taken the position we're going to outright ban them. What I have found is that those types of ordinances come under attack very frequently from groups that are agenda-based. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. Where you have what we have at the county level, which is a blended approach, it recognizes that there are specific breeds that have tendencies of aggression that have to be addressed specifically. And so your ordinance is not outright banned, but it's essentially to communicate, if you're going to have this type of animal, you will have to undertake significant controls. So we're not telling anybody that they can't have the animal. We're saying you can only have this animal under certain circumstances. And it just so turns out that those circumstances are quite, they really do put on the table, how do you feel about having this particular breed of dog?
Yeah.
So I like our position. We've been at this now for probably 15-plus years, specifically addressing animals of this type. And to my knowledge, we have not yet been attacked
Right.
in litigation over our ordinance, whereas many other political
I
subdivisions
feel
have.
like that people who have pets, well, I think the majority of them, I mean, they already have them, they love them, and they do not want to get rid of them, but when they find out everything that they have to do to keep and maintain it, I think 9 out of 10 would say, if I knew all this in the beginning, I would have gotten a collie. You know, but they already have them.
They
So
probably won't get another one.
Well, yeah.
I mean, after the fact,
Yeah.
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 Well,
I get
whatever,
phone
yeah.
calls- I get phone calls every day, people asking, hey, I've moved into Rankin, or I'm moving into Rankin, you know, I have this type of dog, is it all right? And if it's a pit, we go through everything, they say, well, I'll just leave it with my family, or, you know, whoever, they don't wanna have to.
I've actually been bit by a chihuahua more than I have any of those others.
Those things are the ones that really mean.
Yeah.
I've seen 100 more aggressive chows than I've ever seen.
Amen.
Pits.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Did I mention I can't stand them?
I got it noted, Counselor, I got it.
So April 29, 9 a.m., did we
Yeah.
get that?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
very good. Gentlemen, if I may, please, before we get to Keith, I've got one more matter that I'd like to ask you to consider adding to the agenda. This is a consideration of our issue with the property up on Old Fannin, at the corner of Old Fannin and Spillway. That is the strip center that's owned by Dr. Brown, that has the issue of a parking lot that the staff has reviewed and considered. We sent letters out to the tenants of the community, and I think we published notice to some degree to others in the community. We have heard a number of complaints from the tenants and others who utilize this facility about the condition of the parking areas of the property. And so the board has before it, if it's willing to add this, the consideration of whether or not the condition of that parking lot is either a nuisance property under our ordinance, 195105, or violates the International Property Maintenance Code that the board has adopted and follows. And so I'd ask that you would add that matter, Mr. Baker's here, on that matter as well. I'd ask, I think we have a number of individuals out in the hall who are wanting to speak on that matter. And so I want you guys to have an opportunity to consider that today.
All right, do we need to add this?
We need to add it.
All right.
Motion to add is agenda by Brad, second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Yeah, if it pleases the board, I'm going to ask Mr. Baker to speak on behalf of Dr. Brown first. But let's wait and get our folks in here who wish to speak on this. I'd like for them to hear Mr. Baker's comments before we get to the.
You don't see the point, but we're gonna do driveways too. His driveway busted all up. Look bad and everything.
Pay the parking lot, right? And the owner,
Management company.
he won't pay it.
Right.
Who's the management company?
I don't know. Brown owns it, right?
Yeah, Brown owns it, it's individual.
Oh.
It's individual.
Somebody here representing him, I'm sure.
Represent who, Brown?
I'm actually,
Yeah.
we can get this one done. I didn't realize today was
Why
the
are
day,
they so
or else I'd
concerned
contact him.
Me too.
These people.
These are people that own shops.
Yeah, Greg, I didn't realize today was the day for that, or else I would've done a little more due diligence, making sure we fill this place up. So, I'm guessing you represent the owner?
Yes, Mr. Bishop, I do, thank you.
Of course, of course.
Thank you. On behalf of the owners of the Fannin Market, we received your letter. Thank you for that. I've done a little investigation and talked to the owners of it. By way of background, I'm sorry I didn't have a picture here this morning. There has been a problem with a a water main with the City of Flowood Water Service process. We think that has been resolved. That main was putting water onto the parking lot and actually under the building too. And it was causing deterioration of the parking lot. In speaking, I spoke with Gary Miller last week, and I think we're working toward getting that resolved. I think Dr. Brown is going to meet with somebody from Flowwood today, but I think that's resolved. So the question is, what do we do now? Currently, the owners who are both here today have retained Keith Black, who is one of our tenants. Y'all know Keith, one of our tenants. He owns the Black Axis, but he's also going to be the property manager for the Phantom Market properties. We also have an individual from AJ Construction here, Sean, who Keith's going to get with after the meeting, and we're going to get you a plan to remediate the parking lot. Immediately, what we're going to do today is there's some slag on site now that is going to be put in the potholes. But once Sean with AJ and Keith get together and formulate a plan, once we're confident that the intrusion of the water has stopped from that water line, we will begin to get the plan in place and go ahead and permanently fix the potholes. And I don't know what we're going to do to the top of the park, want to seal it, whatever. I'm not an asphalt guy, but if you can give us 30 days, we're going to go ahead and put the temporary slag in the potholes today. I don't know how long it's going to take, but we'll probably get most of that done today, tomorrow, this week. But if you can give us 30 days for Keith to get with AJ Construction for us to get a plan in place and let me report back to you then. Hopefully I'll be able to report back and say, not only we got the plan, it's in place, but it's done. But if not, at least at that point, I will give you a very accurate timeline as to when we expect that this will be completed, which may or may not meet your satisfaction, then you can go from there. I'm hopeful that it will.
Mm-hmm.
And really, from our standpoint, that's all we have to offer. I do have the owners here today. Mr. Black is here. We've got the individual from AJ. And I don't want to represent, we've retained the construction company yet. We've asked the construction company to come out and tell us what's going to happen, because candidly, I'm not sure we know exactly the extent of what needs to be done in this regard. Okay?
Well, as you know, it's not just one location though, Mark. It's a lot. It can't be just one line causing all that. But I'm glad to hear y'all are fixing to address it. It's been ongoing for several years now. So thank you for that.
Mr. President, we noticed each of the tenants of Dr. Brown's strip center. We noticed them to be present. We made it very clear in our communication to the tenants that this board was going to evaluate how serious this matter was on the basis of the representation of tenants that bothered to come and to address the board. So having indicated that clearly in our communication and seeing that we have a number of tenants here, I don't want to close the hearing out without giving them an opportunity to speak if they wish to. Based on what you've heard, I would like, first of all, each of the tenants who are represented here, if you will please stand so the board can see who has come, please. Very good. Thank you for coming. Based on what you've heard from Mr. Baker concerning Dr. Brown's intent to start addressing the problem to the board's satisfaction, and understanding the board will have an opportunity to evaluate whether or not it's been satisfactorily addressed, is there any tenant that wishes to speak directly to the board about this at this point? Okay. Not seeing anyone coming forward, we're going to assume that the tenants are satisfied with the plan that's been outlined by Mr. Baker. I want to thank Dr. Brown and the others who are present, who are indicating to this board on the record that they are going to address the matter. Then having no further comment on that, we'll close that public hearing. Okay. There's no action.
No action, yeah, okay.
Thank you all for taking
Thank
time
you.
to come.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Keith. Okay, you sure you want to come up?
I'll sit here today.
Thank y'all for coming.
Item A on the agenda, authority to pay the county's portion of PERS.
Keith Chow Hicks.
I do not own a chow. Authority to pay the county's portion of PERS for a chancery clerk in the amount of $8,152 for the calendar year of 2020, as allowed by law.
Yep, so moved.
Motion by Daniel,
Second.
second by Jay.
Why do we have this on our, here rather than consent? Is this something out of norm what we do?
We do it every year on this.
Yeah.
And you can put it on consent.
Okay, all right. I was
All
sure
right.
if it's any different than normal.
Second. Second by Jay. Any more discussion by Jay? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. All right.
Item B is the acceptance of the fiscal year 21 high-intensity drug trafficking area agreement between Rankin County District Attorney's Office and HIDA in the amount of $14,843 and authority for the sheriff to execute those documents.
So moved.
Yep, second.
Motion approved by Jay, second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And then item C is an additional HIDA cooperative agreement between MBN and HIDA and the Rankin County Sheriff's Office in the amount of $35,390 and authority for the sheriff to execute those documents as well.
I'll make a motion.
Motion approved by Steve,
Second.
second by
I
Jay.
do have a question. Why did we do this? Why didn't we put them together?
One's between the DA
Oh,
and the other one is the sheriff.
okay.
Okay,
Two separate offices.
okay. Any more discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
All right. Item D, we have a visual, and this is authorization for Morris Tree Service of Brandon to cut down a tree overhanging the Central Mississippi Regional Library System building that we're about to put a brand-new roof on, and authority to make that payment once it's complete. And you'll see the tree and its ability to impact the roof that will be going on.
All
Probably,
that shade?
Make the cooling costs go up, huh?
probably in fact impacting the foundation too.
I have a feeling we can pay for a lot of cooling instead of replacing the roof.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make a motion approved.
All right, motion approved by Brad,
Second.
second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Item E is authority for me to sign ceasefire documents that will allow fiber optic service to be installed at the Rankin County Juvenile Detention Center.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Jay, second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And then
Bucky can't get internet.
item F
We heard
is
you.
we are requesting approval to set the Rankin County Spring Cleanup Week for May 3rd through May 8th of this year, and authority to publish the notice twice in the Rankin County News.
Make a motion approved.
Motion approved by Brad,
Second.
second by Steve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Additional business, Greg Bonds, Benchmark Engineering.
Man of the hour.
The Greg Bonds.
Yeah. Good morning.
How y'all doing?
How's your last 2.5 hours been?
It's
Pretty
been
good?
great. It's been great. I've learned a lot. Learned a lot. No, Craig's not a big fan of chows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's important.
And you're not gonna get a pit.
Yeah.
Oh,
Crossing.
huh? I don't. No, sir. No, sir.
He said he had a cross.
He's got to
He
go.
got a cross.
He got rid of it about an hour ago.
Cross that child.
He can't do business.
Oh, here today, I met with Jay. He's got a little project that we had talked about over on Vernon Jones. Stormwater goes over Vernon Jones Road, just north of the temple, in between there and it's a manufactured housing development. And we've looked into that and taken some survey information, put some plans together, or put our ideas together as far as how to help that situation. Don't know that we would totally fix it from going over the road, because it's a pretty good drainage area, and there's some pipes immediately downstream
we're proposing to help that, but not, like I said, not totally solve the problem, but it would make a big difference in there in typical heavy rainfalls, the flash flooding that we
I know
have.
originally whenever we got together, you had told me that one option would be very invasive on the temple, would be requiring replacing some entrances and all that.
That's if we just tried to raise the road, basically. Yeah, we'd have that'd bring a lot of issues about with the temple drives and their connection and the dumpster there. There's lots of little things going on right there.
Yeah.
There is a water line in there that's part of the problem. I've talked to the city of Flowood. They say that we can lower that. It'd be part of our responsibility to pay for that. But that would help, because there is fall there between there and the downstream pipes where we could help tremendously by lowering that water line.
What are we thinking we can do to help? What's the?
Adding some culverts under the road, adding another culvert. There's 2 culverts that go under the driveway of the manufactured housing complex. We'd add another culvert that same size beside those. Fixing the ditch, shaping the ditch up a little bit, putting some riprap in there, kind of riprapping the whole thing to help. There's some erosion in there as well. The fence is washing. I'm not sure how long that dumpster pad will stay in place. There's quite a bit of washing in there.
Will it need to be relocated?
The dumpster pad?
Yeah.
I don't think so, no, sir.
So you say add a culvert, are you talking about just beside the 2 that are currently there?
Pretty much, yeah.
Talking about
Beside
under-
it, going
under
to a
the
different
road?
location.
Going
Sir?
under the road?
Well, we'll add some under Vernon Jones, yes, sir,
You
but
gotta cut the
also.
road.
Sir?
We have to cut the road.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We have to cut the road.
Yeah, it currently, this has been going on for years, and Wood Brown had it, and so we've had a lot of, well, actually, the last year when that last storm came through, we had a car run off in there, and it was a very dangerous situation. But I think the other day when the guy came wanted to add on to his place, I think I told y'all he was willing to donate the property rather than wanting to charge us to help, as far as whatever property needs to be done. He's willing to freely give it, and in an effort to try to make this happen. So I asked Greg to come and kind of give us an idea of what ballpark price we're looking at. And then granted, it's probably not going to fix. We're not guaranteed going to take care of it, but we got a good chance of, and helping the situation anyway. So with that said, adding some culverts, in doing this, are we going to add any height to the road at all?
We may add a little bit. Yeah, we're gonna try. I mean, I've talked with Mike, and we'd like to do a little bit of asphalt work in there as well to try to help some of the issues that have come up from the water.
Yeah.
And the
Just
washing
as
over
much
the
as we
road.
can without having to replace anything from the temple.
You're gonna have to retear, so you're gonna tear the road up?
We are gonna have to tear the portion of the road up, yes, sir. I'm proposing three new pipes go across there.
Where
You're talking about that building up the road. I mean, you're just gonna build up, or you're gonna tear it up to build it up?
Well, we're gonna tear it up just to put the pipes in. If we build it up in other spots, it would be just with asphalt on top of what's there.
How big of a stretch are we talking about on this?
The road itself?
I mean,
Or whatever
it's
area you're talking about.
maybe, I don't know, 50 yards?
It's pretty flat in there, but it does, this is where it all eventually gets to, and then it kinda
all
goes
the
back
drain
uphill.
come down to.
Sir?
Where all the drain runoff water
Yeah,
comes to.
it does. Yeah, well, all this is the back end of Oak Grove subdivision. It's right in between Oak Grove and one of the Barnett Bends there.
It's a low area.
It is. It's all low in there, and it's all flat, so it's not a lot of, well, along Vernon Jones, y'all have to go down and look at it, but we have no ditching at all along the road, and it's a very narrow road, it's not, it's one of them country roads,
Yeah, I live on one.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, but, in doing that, the gentleman has come in himself and has added, put in, I think, 2, they're rather large, like 48-inch pipes through his subdivision there.
They're
through his
36
property.
inch, yeah.
Is it, are they 36?
Mhm.
Okay. So you're looking to just add one more? Is that
Add
what you're
another one.
thinking?
Yes,
Just
sir.
add another?
Add more on his property?
Yeah. Yeah,
Who's gonna add it?
we are. Well, that's what all
Giving
this,
us the stuff for.
yeah,
Oh, I thought, I was thinking that was, he had it on some private property.
it is private. It's his property. He owns it all.
I know what I'm saying. We're gonna go on private property and add another culvert?
Yes, yeah. All this would be in an effort to try to get the road, the water
I
off the
didn't
road.
know, I just didn't know we could do that.
It's
Private
tied, it's
property.
tied, it's tied back into the road, trying to get the water off the road.
Is this where, maybe a year ago, I went over there for a car that was upside down?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, I remember we had a flash flood and Jay was out of town and anyhow, I went over there and the car, I think, was upside down. Then went in there and floated up.
Floated up.
Yep.
Yeah. So Greg, all that being said, what are we looking at?
Well, talking with Mike, we're looking at around 150,000.
Big money, huh? Okay.
That covers everything?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's not guaranteed gonna resolve it because like I said, this is going the less invasive route. And so we're not going out to adjacent property owners and having to do any, buying any right of way or making any repairs. Anything above that, we're gonna have to do significant work. And all that temple work is all concrete. They got their ditch concreted, the whole 9 yards.
Y'all are I don't know if you're at the point of decision or not, but when you get to that point,
Yes, sir.
you need to make a specific finding that the requirement to go off of current right-of-way to address drainage issues that affect the public right-of-way, public street, is necessary under a specific code section that I'll give you. So when y'all are ready to address authorization to proceed with this, just let me know, because we need to make that specific finding relative to this.
Well, I have a question. The man that wants to donate the land, is that the land that we're talking about where the driveway is?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, if he donates that
Yes,
to
sir.
the county,
Yes,
can we
sir.
make it part of our right of way?
No, it
Yes,
won't be part of our right of way.
No, sir.
What's he gonna give it to us
He-
for?
No, he was gonna allow us to go on his property and add another culvert.
Right.
Oh, he's just gonna allow us to use it.
The only,
Yeah.
only,
Yeah.
the
Correct.
only reservation of that, there's a lot of people that will say, man, I'll give you permission to come out and do it. I'll give it to you to come out and do it.
Yeah. Well, this
But we-
issue isn't just somebody's property. We talking about a road.
I know,
where
but
they
I'm just
can't-
saying
it's the
things
only
that
road
they'll
in and
say
out.
that, they'll say the same thing, though, I'm just saying.
Yep.
You're welcome to come off here to clean that out, because I know you can only go right here at the road, and the problem down here, I'm welcome. I'll sign anything you need to let you come on and
Yes.
open that up. That's all I'm saying.
It's always going to be this board's decision as to whether or not going onto private property is for the purpose of protecting and safeguarding and preserving the public right-of-way or the public road. That's y'all's call, regardless of what the private property owner may do. The fact that the private property owner's already said that they are willing to provide the access is a necessary condition after you've made your decision. They have to agree to give you the access. And if they don't, Mill Creek,
Yeah.
if they don't, you don't get to go on that private property, no matter what you want to do.
Well, it's just like Mill Creek, there's a lot of them will say that, you have my permission to go out
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Well, Jay, if we do
Huh?
what
Not all
y'all
of
want to do,
Well,
add
no, I
a
said
culvert
that some of
stuff,
those
and it
would.
doesn't
Fix it.
resolve the
He-
problem,
he
then
knows
then
this
will
is
we
the
be
best
tied
we
in
gonna
on
get.
having to do more and more?
No, this is the best we're gonna get.
Okay.
And he recognizes that it's the situation, the property is flat, and it is right behind them, it's flood area, So he knows what he's dealing with, and he's just asked for, some help on being able to get people in and out. And he, plus I think currently he probably has, I don't know, maybe 100 to 150 RVs in there right now, not to mention the 10 dwellings that are past there. There are 10 houses back there. So, I mean, that is the only way in and out. And thank goodness we don't get these flash floods very often, but, when it does, it would be nice if we could spend a couple $100,000 on trying to address it. That's not a lot of money on in the big scheme of things. So.
It's kinda like that.
And I know that's Greg gave a rough estimate, but I would think anything under 300,000, we're looking good. if we can get it. I was surprised it was as low as 150.
Well, now he's gonna go back and jack his price.
Oh, no.
You just gave him a blank check.
So if we were to get approval, what would be our next step? You come up with plans to
Put some
draw
plans
out?
together.
Okay. All right.
You need to
Get
get
with
that
Craig.
verbiage from Craig.
And so what the verbiage would look like is a motion to authorize Benchmark Engineering to provide plans and specifications that address a drainage matter on Vernon Jones Drive, with the understanding that the board is making a finding under 19.592.1 that by going on to private property and addressing the drainage matters off of the road right-of-way, the board will preserve and protect Vernon Jones Drive and the right-of-way associated with it.
Is that covering your cost too?
Sir?
That 150,000, that's covering the engineering also?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to add this item to the agenda if y'all are okay with that.
Second.
Motion added item to the agenda by Mr. Bishop, second by Daniel. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
And we'll have Ms. Flood review the videotape to get the precise language,
Okay.
if she's willing to do that. Okay.
You gotta have a motion to approve, Jay.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve, to give Benchmark the go-ahead to drop the design to get this project done.
Yeah.
Second.
Motion approved by Jay.
Yeah,
Second-
19592.1.
Second by
Yeah.
Second by
Thank you,
Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank y'all. And I was out of town, y'all had y'all's last meeting, and Lon Burt with my office was here.
Yeah,
no, there was some-
he very nicely said, "Nah, I don't want to deal with this."
But there was
Well, I think Jared cleared up. He said it's online, right? I mean, it's not going over. Yeah.
Well, no, I didn't say that. I said hadn't gotten time to file things and everything.
Oh.
So give us
I'm here if y'all want an update on the
tell us
project. I
what's
can give you
going
kind of
on
where
with
we're
it.
at.
Not that far down the road.
Y'all approved an extension last meeting for the environmental. Basically,
Right.
there's a deadline on the environmental work,
Right.
the approved environmental work. And initially, we had some correspondence with MDOT that said it was going to be a certain category. And once everything was submitted, they came back and said, no, never mind, basically. And so that put it into a different category that was going to take more time. Didn't have the time left at that point in time before the deadline, so we asked for the extension. It's a year extension. We've done already pretty much, I'd say 80% of the work that's required. We've got to do a couple extra, look at a couple extra alternates, do some things, but we don't anticipate that taking anywhere close to a year to get that done, so the extension should be
Is this
plenty
all
of time.
environmental you talking
Yeah,
about?
that's our environmental.
What kind of different environmentals are they?
Well, they said it was a categorical exclusion, which means it was basically skip public hearings, skip this, skip several different things. Well, now it's not.
You're not skipping anything now.
So MDOT's got to set the public hearing. We got to do some of that. There's time limits in that. And, but all the documents are basically pretty much done, like I said, but they do have to do a couple, look at another alternate and do some other things, add to their report.
I got you.
But,
All right.
so it's pretty far along, I guess is my point on that. Last week, we submitted plans to MDOT for requesting the field review, which is basically the next step. And this field review's been set for next Tuesday. We go walk the project. I'm sure y'all are familiar with this process, but
Nope.
basically, well, we go out, we meet MDOT out there, we stake out the center line of the road, ends of pipes, things like that, and we go walk the project with MDOT and whoever they want to be at the meeting. And we look at the plans, look in the field, talk about things, they give us their opinion, and basically get their comments, their review of the field review plans and during the field review. And once we get all that, you move forward with putting the construction documents together, basically.
And the right of way, have we purchased the right of way yet on
No.
that?
So how long?
We
is the
haven't
road?
nailed down the right way
That,
yet.
that stuff I guess, variance in the way we may shift the road or whatever. Have you got any of that information so I can go meet the
Well,
gentleman?
I was gonna talk to you about that. I think it'd be good I'd like to talk to them, to MDOT about it, because,
Before?
well, their requirements require like a 3-foot ditch section or something like this. And
Right.
we're at the top of the hill. Well, on the information that we gave you, that was doing a 3-foot ditch section and meeting their entire typical section.
Right.
That's what made it go so far into the property.
Uh-huh.
If we could talk to them about a variance right there, and I think they'll agree with it, then it's gonna shorten that distance up quite a bit.
Yeah, I'd
So
like to know exactly whether, go back to.
I'd like to
them
wait
back and
until
forth,
after
yeah.
our field review with them before
Right,
you go
okay,
talk to
that's
that
fine.
guy.
So how long is the road proposed?
3.
It's about 3.7 miles.
Almost 4 miles?
Mhm.
So I know in other roads we've done with MDOT, you had to come up with different routes. Have you done that?
Yeah, that's part of the environmental.
Okay, all right. So do we have a preferred route and
That's
alternate
right.
route and all that?
Mm-hmm.
So the
That's-
preferred route's 3.7 miles.
That's right.
It's it's no way you're gonna change that very much. I mean, you may be talking about a 10th. It's pretty much set the way it's gotta go. You may change just simply by the way you shift something, yeah.
I think it's either 3.9 or 3.7. I can't, it's too small. I can't see it. I need some readers. I haven't done it
Jay
yet.
got a pair with it.
Yeah, I got a pair.
Oh.
Sure.
But that's, yeah, it's close to 4 miles.
So where are we at? I know our last meeting, like we said, Jared said that he's not over budget, but I think that the number you kind of gave me was more than what I think we had allocated for it.
Well, right now, our construction cost estimate is right at 8.7 million.
Actually, what I told you, Jay, is we had not come down to the final thing, so I can't say, I'm not gonna say we are or aren't yet.
Oh, you didn't go that far. You just said, no, we're
No,
not.
No, I did. You just listened to the part you want to hear, I guess.
Oh, okay.
I got a wife like that.
Yeah. 8 point what?
7,
And how much do we have allocated?
just over 6.
So we gotta make up, and maybe, I guess that's what got me confused. Because when I kinda doing some of the legislative research, I saw we had 2.8 million in Gunner Road at a request that came in. That's why I asked you where we were over, because I thought that may have just been put in there accidentally or something, but that would about cover that oversight then. Not the oversight, but I guess I guess the part that got me was, when I said, are we on budget with the Gunner Road side? You said yes.
Extension.
Extension,
Yeah.
right? But then we had a bill dropped, not a bill drop, it was tagged into some bills for 2.8 million in Gunner Road. I didn't know anything about it.
I didn't either.
You did?
Hmm?
Well, good.
Well,
Wow.
glad to know, hope it is.
Yeah, they didn't pass it, but I mean, but my point is,
I didn't know anything about it.
so they introduced the stuff on the legislation side we didn't know about?
Yeah, I know one other thing they did that we didn't know about, that I found out about when I talked to, Josh the other day.
So somebody at the legislature put 2.8 million in Gunner Road that we didn't know, that you didn't know about?
Sure did.
Wow.
Yeah, me, I said, wow, too.
Mhm.
I didn't know about that. I hadn't had any discussion with anybody about it. And the reason being, I didn't know where we were exactly, because that's been kind of up and back and forth. So to be able to go and sit down and talk to somebody about something specific, you need to know something specific.
I agree.
I ain't said a word. I don't know, that's
First
the
up.
first I heard about it.
Really?
Yeah, really.
I would assume.
Well, there was,
Promise you, I
actually,
talked to
there's,
everybody at the Capitol that I could, trying to get some help on my road.
We
I did.
We had everybody on Andrew Chapel, wide open.
yeah, and then found out there's some in there for Gunner that I didn't, wasn't aware of.
Well,
So
Yeah, I mean,
then
I
we
had
got,
mentioned, it because of utility stuff,
Yeah.
but, this other one
Well, I
hadn't said
did-
anything because of
I
the
also
fact that we don't know
did
where we are yet.
mention that
Huh?
that whenever I was talking to Brent or Josh, he asked me, is that all? And I said, no, Jared's gonna need some for utility,
Right,
but I don't know how much.
right.
Well, somebody went rogue on us and stuck it in the Tougaloo College bill for $2.8 million. Isn't that
Really?
crazy? Yeah, craziest thing I ever heard. Yeah,
Right.
especially
I
if you
wish
didn't
they'd
know
have
about
got
it.
it.
Well,
I think Greg did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
did.
put that in there, Greg?
I did.
That'd have been great.
So
I
we've
wish
got to
I'd
come
known
up, so
about it.
now
Just
we've got to
try.
figure out around $2 million, I guess.
I mean, that's our estimate this
To
time,
offset?
you know, I mean, We just got our soil borings back. I mean, there's lots of moving parts on this project.
And
We're
that's
dealing with the
exactly
railroad.
basically what I was telling you.
I mean, we are moving a lot of dirt out here. I mean, we got right now about 300,000 yards of dirt that we're moving just because of the terrain.
You said the railroad, what about the railroad?
Well, we just got to cross it, you know, and then deal with, it's 2 for 1. You got to, if you add a crossing, you got to shut down
That's what we
2.
were talking about the other day. So where are we looking to get those crossings at?
We don't know where we get one. We know where one may come, but there's some other thoughts there too. I don't know if we want to bring them out in this open meeting here, but there's some.
We
other
have
thoughts
some
there.
options, I believe, or at least an option
That specific railroad, and they have to be in Rankin.
in the county.
Yeah, well, somebody said something earlier about they were gonna merge Kansas City and.
Yeah, you heard Michael mention
Yeah.
KCS.
Are they gonna
and CP.
be one company now?
Yeah, I don't know where that stands. That's gonna require.
Well, that'd be like a
how much
monopoly.
federal red tape, that's
Well,
gonna
they merged,
require.
didn't
I mean,
Federal
they've
government
got,
shoot
they've
that
got to
down.
look at issues. I mean, you start getting into antitrust stuff when you start merging railroads.
guess.
So, that's a long process, that's gonna have to be undertaken there.
So what's the next step? You meet with MDOT?
That's
and
right.
Do the, all right, so what comes after that?
We get going, finalizing the design. There's lots of things to do, but that'd be the next step.
Well, I'd like to suggest you start coming and giving us an update on this periodically so that we all on the same page. As a matter of fact, I'd even like to see a layout where it's going, you know, start to finish.
Okay.
So maybe next month you can come and let us know how you're meeting with MDOT and show us where the road's going.
Yeah, that's no problem.
I got a map of that. It's like I said, it's gonna very little variance in the weight. Like Greg agreed. I mean, you're talking about you cross here, you may shift over here, you may shift here. As far as the start and stop points, it's the same as far as I mean, there's no aggressive deviation in the whole project.
And we've got it where we think it needs to go. We've met several times and looked at it,
You haven't
sir.
seen it? Okay.
So, yeah, I can,
But we
I can
still-
email
but
it
we
to
still-
you, or
but we still
I'll
gotta
tell all
start-
y'all.
We still gotta start trying to find the money. I mean,
Yeah, that's, cause all that is on their deadline of 3 years.
3 years gotta be done.
No, it's a little more than that one. On
This, you have not gotten the acquisition, well, you hadn't bought any land.
That's
So we don't know what that's gonna cost.
Is
Well, that's all in-
that's included in your 8 million?
Right away is not. No, that's just construction costs.
Okay. So
And the
what
6
about
million was just for construction as well.
engineering?
Yeah,
None of that's in there. No, sir.
okay.
So we gotta find
We've
out
got
that
some
cost.
pretty-
I thought initially
So we looking at a good
I
3.5
thought we
million.
talked about initially the
3
money
million.
was
Touching
including
10
some
million.
right away.
And it's about-
There might be some in there.
Some in there for right
Additional
away.
monies, 3 million.
3 million.
I may need to go back and
I'm
look at
thinking
the
about
summary,
projects
but
now.
Yeah,
No.
right,
You don't
I
think?
think the original estimate was just for construction.
Just construction.
yeah.
Can I point something out
About 20.
about that? Sure. Well, this goes, when we started down the road of evaluating specific projects, and I'm including Andrew Chapel, by the way, and Gunner Road. both
Yeah.
of those. When we started down that road, basically what we asked for on the front end was a best guess.
Right.
That was forward-looking, and what we're seeing is that when you put your professionals especially in that box, they're gonna have to be very aggressive in their estimates on the front end, or we're gonna find ourselves repeating this same conversation constantly about our project. So, I guess what I'm saying is, we need to think about the project estimates when we get them. We need to think about.
Add 2 million.
You need to be open-minded about that for what it is. You're getting the best estimate that can be given at that moment.
And we need to take anticipation on the
You add
utilities.
20%.
the cost of
But
utilities.
I guess we're heading into that budget cycle side of things, right? So we're a couple months, we're into the
That's
budget cycle.
precisely correct. And so, looking forward,
Yeah.
we know what's coming. We are going to be talking about specific projects here pretty soon. Because we're gonna be looking at ways that we can take advantages of some resources that are given to us.
Yeah.
Assuming we get the right kind of permission. We're gonna be trying to take advantage of that.
And the environment we're gonna find ourselves in is this: projects that make a ton of sense, that can't be completed in a year, or 2 years, possibly even 3 years, even though we're gonna have timelines on how quickly we can spend it. We're gonna have projects like that, and we're gonna be competing with everybody else that got the same kind of resources that we got in the same markets. And I'm getting a little concerned that we're gonna run out of engineer help and construction help and other professional type help and analysis by MDOT and all those other things. The pipeline is gonna get choked pretty quickly. So I'm just putting that out there. The more we can have conversations with specificity about projects, the better off we'd be if we can go ahead now.
Okay, I got one I'd like to add then.
Well, I mean, I guess that kind of goes back to where we were the other day. That's kind of when I asked that question. Are we okay on the budget? The $6.5 million that was appropriated for it. Now we're searching for $3 million this meeting, right? Roughly three?
Yeah.
So now.
Well,
we're
that's
not-
the reason we had him come in here, and that's also the reason, and the numbers you've given have kind of gone up and down, and it depends on what we're doing, and we worked at trying to get it down, and so that's the reason I wasn't in any place to say anything, because we don't have any concrete numbers. Now we're closer, but still we got some variation in that, but not that kind of money. You're right.
$3 million is a big chunk
That's
to
what I
find.
said, not that kind of money.
You don't think it'll be that much?
I didn't say that.
I mean,
I said not that kind of money, what we're talking about.
That is a big number.
Huh?
That's a big number, for sure.
Yep.
That,
it's a $10 million project now.
yeah. Yeah, our.
It's kinda like Michael was saying.
Our initial investment was what helped us get there, since we only had to put $350,000 in it.
Into it, yeah.
Yeah.
And that turned south real quick. Add another zero.
But now we're trying to find $3 million for a road that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So you've got MPOs about 3, a little bit. States in for about 3 and a little bit, and it looks like the county is gonna have to be in for about 3.
And a little bit.
Possible. And so,
Well,
so we thought we were gonna have a little bit more advantageous position from county resource only
Yeah.
participation, because we're gonna have to go what looks like about a 5% number to about a third. I mean, that's really that's what we're talking about, but it would be an equal share among each of those 3. So,
And there also still some, some things in, well, I don't know if now's even a place to talk about them, but where railroad's concerned, there's been some negotiations there. There may be some changes somewhat there after I had the meeting I had with,
we need some good conversations.
and there's some things I wanted to ask you about that I really don't want to put out there.
Sure.
All out here now, because just simply, to inquire of some things that may change some of that and help us on the railroad too.
I'm open.
Yeah,
to
well, I know,
meeting
and I
with you
just
whenever.
don't want to do them right here.
Sure.
Right.
Well, y'all good with him coming back, say a month, and give us an update where we are?
Please.
Yes.
Please.
All right.
Yep.
So maybe just come
Sure,
see
I'm
us
glad
next
you-
month.
Yeah, that's
Kinda give us a rundown.
no problem.
All right.
By next month, will we be able to know, will we know how we're gonna handle this railroad crossing?
Maybe not, if you're dealing with railroad.
I don't know, just the
never
history
dealt
so
with
far,
railroad,
getting
that's a
communication with the
whole nother
railroad has been,
Animal.
Yeah.
I mean, that
hasn't
could
been
be-
favorable.
Their participation is minimum at best.
So very little communication and response from them.
Answer your question, no, probably, because it's extremely difficult
Yeah.
to deal with the
We're not-
railroad.
we're not-
I've had two
until we
projects
know that.
dealing with them.
Air gas thing was a mess.
Yeah, I know
Air
Pearl
gas
and
thing was a
Richmond
mess.
been
Well,
waiting
that's
on
third
that
project.
railroad forever,
So that's
trying to
3.
sign one piece
They
of
don't
paper.
tell us who their
Railroad built
decision
up
makers are.
South of Florence.
All right. Greg, I appreciate you coming in, man.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank y'all for having me.
Get ready to
I'll talk
get
to you.
moving forward on
Okay.
Vernon Jones now.
Sir?
Get moving forward on that big project.
Okay. I appreciate it.
I
Thank
give
y'all.
him easily 150 over here, and they talking about 10 million. Yeah. Thank you anyway.
Thank y'all, appreciate it.
What's the next deal here? The storm
No, we've
shelter?
got, I see some people came in, is that
Yeah, that's a different matter.
something, okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
guess
well, we're-
I
some of
guess-
the storm shelter.
Yeah, I'm not building no road to the storm shelter.
You
Now, I
sure?
know the last, severe weather we had over 300
people in our storm shelter in Brandon, and it got used good, and people enjoy having a safe place to go. And I'm not saying we need to take action today, but being Rankin County as large as we are, I feel like we can afford to spend some money on some kind of safe rooms that all it is bolted down to a slab of concrete, and you can put up to 50 people in them, and it's not that expensive. I have a lot of people calling me every time the storm shelter or severe weather's in our area, wanting somewhere to go and be safe. And I mean, we send our county workers, our sheriff's department out there anticipating bad weather, and I mean, I think we need somewhere in the county for other people and residents to be able to use. So it could be some FEMA money out there, some grant money to help out on this.
That'd be good.
Me and Word is working on that, Mike Word, and if there's some additional funds this next budget season, I'd like to see at least invested in a couple of these and scatter them out in the rural part of the county.
These, if I remember right, a large one runs about 40,000.
Well, 30,000, then you figure you
40 foot
concrete.
one. Yeah, 40 foot.
And then put on a 16-inch slab of concrete, and minimum, I mean, you can have just a battery-operated light in there. I mean, people are not gonna live in it, they just gonna
We
come
hope
there.
not, yeah.
Well, you
Sit
know, Brad,
nighttime.
and talking about that, have you thought about all the personnel that's needed to go with that too?
What personnel?
I know with this one, man, we fell off in that. We opened this sucker up, found out we gotta have medical people available. We gotta have someone on staff, someone there all the time, someone with the sheriff's department.
So if I
Always has to be
can
there.
remind the board, that is a part of the FEMA regulations to qualify for the federal funding, which by the way provided 95% of the cost of our current shelter. The FEMA regulations, Jay, are where the requirements for medical staff,
So if we
for
didn't need FEMA
availability.
money, we wouldn't have to have that.
Yes, sir. If you just use this county resources to provide a facility like this, you're not subject to the FEMA regs, and your requirements that you would have to obligate yourself to are only what you guys would come up with at that point. So
Okay.
you do have a choice. It comes down to
This is
resourcing.
not FEMA reg.
Yes.
I'm saying put them right there around the volunteer
Yeah,
fire
I
stations
would-
and scattered.
I'd be okay, I mean, I'd like to try one, so, and maybe Puckett or John's, where the people that are volunteer, they're gonna meet up there because the bad weather's coming and they know.
Yes, sir.
And the deputies on that end of the county, they could
Yes, sir.
meet up there, and if they needed to, go in the
Yes.
shelter. And if there's some public that
Yes, sir.
show up, we're not gonna turn them down.
That's right.
And then let's see how it works.
Give you a chance to evaluate.
Who decides
Yeah.
to open it? I mean, who opens it?
I would say you got your volunteers right
You
there.
would correspond it with your main shelter.
see.
I'd call the main
Yeah.
shelter here.
Yeah.
You would correspond it so that when the main shelter is open, the sheriff does it. When he announces the shelter is open for inclement weather, that would automatically trigger availability of that facility, just like the main shelter.
If you don't mind, I can speak to it really quickly. I have not talked to Mr. Slay about potential litigations on this. A couple of things about these shelters that we've been able to come up with. Obviously, anytime there's a tornado watch in Rankin County, the sheriff opens up the safe room. Talking with the company as far as locks and things of that nature, there is a way to put a combination lock on this door to keep it locked for the majority of the year. The people that they have across the country that has these things, that's what they do. They use a combination lock, and at points where you're having inclement weather, those particular seasons, they'll go by and unlock it, or either have a deputy or a firefighter or somebody unlock it if it's by an unoccupied station. So as far as access, in my opinion, is not an issue. As far as actually having to have someone stay with them in there, and this is just a metal hut, I don't think that's an issue. There's nothing you can beg, borrow, or steal in there. It's all solid steel. It is on a 16-inch slab. Here's the big caveat to this thing, which was eye-opening to me. This is fully compliant with FEMA 365 regulations and fully compliant with ICI 500. Those are the two big things, meaning, and just looking down the road in a litigious society that we live in today, it's just not a Connex box that we put on a concrete slab and said, hey, this is the safest place you could ever be in an event of a tornado. They go, a tornado hits, and the worst happens. This is a purchase from a reliable company that meets the set forth national regulations and standards for a safe room. So I think, to me, that's a
How's
huge,
it
huge deal.
structured different then? They take a Connex box and do what to it?
It looks like a Connex box to me, but it appears, looking at on the website, that it's not actually a Connex box. It has the appearance of that, but it looks like it's built like in your shop down at your place. You just bring the raw steel in and you weld it up.
Yeah,
It's
it looks
pretty
like a
substantial.
Connex box, yeah.
And their claims and their testing is up to a 250 mile an hour wind, F5
You
tornado.
think they'd
That's
made them more circular
pretty,
because it's
pretty
so flat?
substantial. So.
There's a lot of calls and a lot of need, I think, in the community, because every time there is a storm, we see people on social media wanting to know where the nearest storm shelter
Yeah,
is.
like for
Or what happens, you show up and just can't get in there?
me, it's 25-mile drive. By the time they hear about a tornado, they're gonna be about Oakdale by
What are
trying
we
to
gonna
get
do?
here.
What do you do? I mean, where do you shut it off? I'm saying if they can't get in there, I just thought about that.
You know what?
Well,
I
I
say,
mean,
sorry.
it says 50
54.
people, but, I mean, that's probably sitting comfortable.
Right.
I mean,
But you get more of that crammed in there, I
5
think.
minutes, I think you could stick as many.
Yeah.
If the tornado's bearing down, you can get all of them in there.
Yeah.
How many it was.
Hey, can we gather the information and then see what our budget looks like?
Yeah, I'm not asking to do
And,
anything today.
to see if we can make it work then and be ready with all the information we need.
Well, and see if there's like you said, any kind of grant out there that'd be great. I would think there would be something like that.
There is hazard mitigation grant money. We'll have to check and see if it's applicable to shelters, and don't know if they would go that small. The only thing about that, as with any federal grant monies, you are absolutely tied down to 110% of all their regulations they report.
Compliances.
Which means if we used hazard mitigation grant money to purchase, let's just say purchase one of these at $30,000, let's say they turnkey it, they pay for the concrete, so total
Right.
investment on our half is $45,000. At that point, when we open it up, it's gotta be staffed, it's gotta have security, it's gotta have medical, it's gotta have a whole. There'd be no difference between this small 49 person capacity and the
Storm shelter.
the 300 up there. There's no-
So
no
what you're
difference.
saying then is not much need looking for grant money for.
I'm not saying don't look.
Well, I mean, you're not gonna find any that you're not gonna get stuck in this situation
The
with.
sheriff would like to say something, please.
I want information to the safe room, especially Steve, when they issue the watch, that's what we'll, there's more than enough time for everybody to make it to bring it if they want to. But now, I love the idea of this, and it's funny that you brought it up, because Neiman just called yesterday, and they love how y'all operate the safe room.
You do a great job, man.
No, it's all because of y'all. I mean, y'all the one that took the initiative to build it and everything. So they're coming tomorrow to do a film on the safe room and how we do it and everything. This is my suggestion. Let's ask them if there's any grant money. Let's build one north and one south, and we come up with the people that opened up, and then we'll get whatever money we can and build one north and south, and then everything else, put up these everywhere else. But if there's some money out there, you might as well get it, because if you do it at the volunteer fire station, like Press, we know we got somebody out of all these firemen that can at least come and open it up, or if not, that's like send a deputy up there and open it up. So I don't think staffing during bad weather would be a huge, huge issue. It may down the road, but, I say if they got some money, let's get all of it we can.
Exactly.
For like, not every single one of them, but
Right.
we can get one north, one south to cut down on the distance.
Well, if they get a bigger one, yeah.
It's obvious that it's become a relatively popular service that's
Did you say
provided.
we had people come from out of the county too?
We don't really check, they're supposed to fill that, but I know we've had some from Simpson County come up, and, I tell you, there's a set crew of about 50 or 60 people that they're there every time it opens, because they live in houses that they're not comfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
We can, it sounds to me like Mr. Calhoun has volunteered himself to spearhead this project, so we need to get with Mr. Calhoun and get you guys some more information and see
Okay.
what MEMA has to offer and look at the regulations and
Yeah.
come back and visit that issue again. We'll try to do that
I'm for
over the next couple of months. We're gonna be in the middle of bad weather season, we know this.
We're not gonna get
And
it
so
this year.
we're not gonna have it ready to go this year, but we'll do what we can,
Sure,
try to push that, okay?
sounds good. Okay. Anything else? Nothing else? You got executive session?
If you will allow me, we've got a couple of late ads. These were not known to the county in time to get them on here. The first is, I just want to do as a matter of cleanup. I'm tired of getting emails from our prior county administrator telling me that we didn't have authority to issue a check for something. And so just out of an abundance of caution, I'd like for you guys to authorize, to add to the agenda, authority to issue the check to Rankin County School District for $230,000 and not just leave them with this big presentation check.
Okay,
So that would be an add item, and then I need approval to issue that check.
all right. Have a motion to add this item to the agenda.
Hey, can we do that for Pearl School at the same time?
Yes, sir, we can do that now, and that way it's
You can do
done.
that all at one thing? So when you
All
get
right,
there.
so this will be to add authority to issue a check to Rankin County School District for $230,000, authority to issue check to Pearl School District for $20,000. By the way, I'm expecting them to be here on the 15th for their presentation. Okay,
All right.
so that's $20,000 for Pearl, $230,000 for Rankin County
I
School
make the
District.
motion, we're authorized, you or whoever, to issue a check, Rankin County School District in the amount of $230,000 and to Pearl in the amount of $20,000.
Second.
Okay, motion by Steve, second by Brad. Any discussion? To add this to the item to the agenda?
That's right.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved. By Steve, second by Brad. Any discussion? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
The other item, which I don't believe is going to require any adding to the agenda or anything, it's just a matter for discussion, but there's a couple here, I believe they're from Simpson County, who is intending to build a couple of houses in Castle Woods. Last name is Garrettson. I think they want to address the board.
Okay, come on up. State your name and address, please. Good morning.
Morning, how are y'all?
Pretty good.
My name's John Garrettson. Garrettson Homes LLC is the company that we have. It's just me and my wife. Small company.
Address is your,
501 Pearl Orchard Drive, Brandon.
okay.
39042. We're actually residents of Rankin County.
Glad to have you.
Yes, sir. Just have a lot of concerns. I bought these two lots in Castlewood subdivision back in the end of 2019. We were wrapping up a house. We were gonna start building actually in 2020, but COVID hit, things kind of slowed down, prices got real long. Wood prices got drove up, so we're kind of trying to get the ball rolling. We were gonna try to get started the first of the year. We're gonna try to do one house at a time. Two lots are next to each other. We submitted some architectural or home plans and to the architectural committee out at Castlewood for their approval. We also went by the Rankin permit office, turned in the plans there, submitted for the permit to go ahead and start construction. When we submitted to the art committee at Castlewoods, I was notified by the Castlewoods Homeowner Association about some drainage issues, which at the time I thought was just rooftop water coming from above, and then some drainage issues on the front of the lots coming down Castlewood Boulevard, which I had already spoke to my subcontractor that does my dirt work. He advised that this shouldn't be a problem. We should be able to take care of this with some ditches and some other things, and then have the drainage come to the front and then down to where it's caught. I do apologize. Caught down at Glen View, I believe is the name of the street.
Cleansview.
I was unaware at the time of another issue that was created well before me, before, I guess, back when phase 2 was put in, which was the street above us. They put in a cul-de-sac, and there's a storm drain at the end of the cul-de-sac. It catches all the water off of that road, and then Down the property line between the two lots that kind of split ours, it opens up about 65 feet ahead of my lot. Which at that point, when I say opens up, it comes off the street, catches water on the road, that's where it ends, and then it just dumps. So what's happening is there's a large amount of water during rainfall being caught on the road above and then dumped across the two lots that I got. You know, we were anticipating rainwater off the rooftops, but not this much water. So this is something that's really got to be addressed before I'm allowed to be able to issue bill permits. And I understand that, that's not a problem, but it's been to the point now to where I'm responsible for all the costs. I've been advised the only person in the county that I've been able to get hold of is Mr. Slay. Mr. Slay and me has had a couple conversations. The initial conversation was that I needed to come up with a hydrology report and drain plans before I would be allowed to allowed any bill permit at all to get started. The second conversation, which was a little over a week ago, he advised that he didn't say that, and that at this time all the county would require me is some plans or a statement stating what my plans are to handle the drain water. So there's a little confusion on about what's actually required. We've been trying to be proactive. We have hired Benchmark to try to come up with some plans that are acceptable.
So are you in a floodway or flood zone?
I was not aware, and I don't think it's,
Lots were available.
Yeah.
I don't believe that it's in a flood zone. I'm pretty sure it's not in the flood
Yeah,
zone.
you're not in the flood zone.
Yeah, it's just a drainage matter that was poorly designed back when phase 2 was put in. The problem
It
is,
sound like
we're
you
here.
got 2 dog lots that were left over.
They are. Just to be honest with you, and I mean, we know how I've learned a lot over the last several years about how the building industry works. I don't have a lot of financial backing. I'm doing a lot of this out of pocket on my own.
Yeah.
So I can't go into a development and buy a whole phase up. I can't, I'm not that big a guy.
Right.
So when we find deals on lots, and we did find a deal on these 2 lots.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
You finding out why now, huh?
well, bad dirt is what we were told. Bad dirt. And we were aware of that. So we anticipated the cost of fixing the dirt. And why fixing the dirt? Fixing the drainage that we were aware of.
Yeah.
I just, I didn't know that 60 foot up the property line above me was a storm drain that was opening up, and it's a lot of water.
It's all the water from that above phase.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's a whole street of water.
So can you make one lot out of the 2, or are they both
No
good?
We can, but we would really like, as far as financial, at this point, due to high lumber prices, we really need to try to build 2 houses on these lots. There's a couple options that we have of trying to correct this issue. Benchmark, like I said, is working on it. One, I think is going to entail trying to catch the water at the pipe and reroute it to another opening that's in that 10-foot easement across the back of the property, which would be ideal. I think that, I wasn't around back in 1994, but I feel like that may have been the original idea. There's another opening on lot 110, which is the first lot, and it looks like it could have been routed around and tied together. I'm not sure. I have no idea. I hadn't been able to locate any kind of drainage plans or formal, development type stuff. I guess due to 30 years of, whatever. I just know at this time it's something that I've got to address to be able to build on. And right now it's looking like I'm faced with all the cost of taking this on.
How big are houses?
Sir?
How big is the house? What square footage house?
The one that we currently submitted for was 2,200 square feet.
Both of them?
The other one I think is going to be it'll be around the same size. Yes, sir. We hadn't officially went and obtained plans for that one yet.
All right, I'm gonna add a couple things just to kind of bring it all here together just for a second.
Thank you.
So, I guess on a Friday evening one night, you sent me a text that, hey, I got an issue I want to talk to you about over there in the Willows. And I got back with you Monday morning. We were having a board meeting, so I could meet with the right people to talk to. And then they contacted you that afternoon. I think maybe Mr. Slay even contacted you that afternoon and said, hey, here's
Mr.
what's
Slade's
going
the
on.
only one I've had contact with.
Okay, correct. But I answered you back, right, and said one of our guys from our office will be in touch with you about it. Because what has to happen on that is I've got to get our engineer and our road manager and our attorney to come out and take a look at it, right? I mean, because if not, you're just going on straight view. That same weekend, I drove out there myself and looked at it to be sure I had the right location. I lost a pair of Adidas's out there somewhere in the middle of the soft grass, right? I mean, it's super soft, super wet all the way around. So they got back with you and they were trying to figure it out. What's happened is there's 2 phases, right, that's come out there. And here's where the understanding that I had to dive into myself to understand it. But when a developer comes into a subdivision and places phases in place into the development, his engineer designs the development. The county's responsibility is to be sure that water and flow from those phases are regulated the right way around the streets. Now, Tim Slay, correct me if I get outside of my lines on this, but so the mindset of the county, when we approve developments in phases, is to ensure that the proper water flow of those properties that are being built is revolving around the flow around the roads. Because what the statute gives us the authority to protect in the county is county roadways. So easements and back drainages and where the lots sit together doesn't necessarily affect the county or have the county's blessing to a point unless it comes into the roadway itself. So the roadway is the county's presence. So the issue that you've got is back on I guess you almost call it a ditch between the 2 phases that come back together, right? And it's a drainage issue from that same point. Now, depending on how that water flows, sure, it's going to come back toward the street in some form or fashion. Which is why I believe the latest understanding is that what they're asking your engineer group to do is come in and look at and figure out, they can show us on paper how you're going to flow the water, which is what we want to know. Because the only thing legally we can protect is the roadway. As many times as we'd love to get down on easements between houses or different ditches and stuff that's off that county road right away, we can't. We'd like to, but we can't. The law won't let us do that. And we're not going to break the law to go off outside what that statute says we can do. So what they're asking you to do now is to come in and find a pathway or a plan on how you're going to move the water from your lot to get to the storm drains to get it off of there. It's there for your protection. It's there for the people that buy your home's protection at that same point. We can't legally operate on private property. All right? And I understand the situation that you're in, but and I hope that kind of ties it together for you to understand what we're talking about.
We're well aware. I mean, I'm building houses, I'm putting my name on them. I'm not going to build a house and have a potential issue with foundation problems due to water. It's obviously something I'm going to have to take care of.
Right.
But it's not a problem that I created. Like I say, when we bought the lots, we assumed that we were dealing with just typical rooftop water and natural drainage.
Right.
That is not the case.
And one thing to add to that, the original engineer that designed the development is either no longer in business or no longer alive, or this is what, 25 years ago, 20 years ago?
Yes, it's the oldest subdivision, yes.
Maybe not that
but
long. I don't know where they're at, right? So
The bottom line, what he's telling all that is, we can't go on private property to have, even though it's a situation that you didn't create and you were expecting to be rainfall rather than all the other water, this is still gonna be your problem that we can't get involved in as far as financial or doing any of the work ourselves. So we legally, we can't do that.
the one, in my opinion, that's really on the hook for the entire thing is the developer that placed these phases or plats together, where they laid them out on the ground.
I just know how it works for me. I know when I submit plans, if I were to run water across somebody else's place, I'd be responsible for taking care of it. I'd be fined. I mean, it just wouldn't be allowed to happen. I have to address that type of issue, and take care of it. I understand that this is 30 years old, but just because it's a 30-year-old problem don't mean it's not a problem and it shouldn't be addressed or taken care of.
Right.
I don't know how else to come around this. We're understanding about where we're at and what we need to do to make sure that we build a solid house with a solid foundation.
Sure.
But,
you're asking us to, what you're asking us is to come in and help solve this problem?
Cost. Not solve problems. I've hired an engineering firm.
You're asking us to what, financially help this? We legally can't do that. No. I mean, attorney, I'm speaking words out of his mouth.
Correct.
You cannot do that. The statute won't allow you to do that. Cause we get in those situations, I mean, I say, we don't get at them, we see these situations all over.
And Mr. Garrett,
Same way drainage problems in, neighborhoods, we didn't create them, but we can't go in and help fix them.
And look, I understand how it's laid out, because when you see it, the county does approve the developments as they come in. So, and I'll speak just from my own layman's brain on this deal, is that if I would look at it on a set of plans or phases that was turned over to the county, I would make the assumption that the county says, oh, sure, everything in the development flows the way it should. That they do that on respect of how it flows around the roadways and the road drainage around the roadways. So the placement of those puzzle pieces of those phases falls on the engineer that designed the developments,
Yeah.
right? The problem you're at right now is you can't find the original designer or the engineer of that development.
It currently runs all the way down my lot back into Castlewood Boulevard.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You just got tattooed by somebody, unfortunately.
A couple people.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were glad to sell it, they knew some things you didn't know.
I mean, we obviously knew the dirt was bad. That's a major reason.
Everything in that area, dirt's bad.
We just had no idea about
The drainage.
a river there. I mean, it's literally, it's thousands of gallons of water when
That's
it rains. It comes off that road. I mean, the whole street
Yeah.
dumps across.
I mean,
And
really,
therein
I'm sympathize
lies-
with you, I really do.
Me too.
Go ahead.
Therein lies the biggest issue for our purposes. What we don't want to have happen is to create an exacerbation of an already known drainage impact. You've got water coming from above through these two lots, and it empties on our right-of-way that we have to control. By the way, we spent money on Glenn's View to riprap it and to protect it from the water flow that's already there. What's being requested by the Garrettsons, and it would be the case for anybody that bought those two lots, is to add impervious structures onto that property. That is not going to help the drainage situation. It's going to make it worse. Why? Roofs, driveways, foundation pads. And so the water flow that's there now that we already know is an issue is going to be further exacerbated. And so we need to know, to protect Glenn's View right of way, to protect properties downstream from that point of exit, we need to know how is this stormwater going to be controlled.
It's
right?
not controlled
That's what we've said.
Yes, sir.
The initial suggestion was, let's get a hydrologist who knows how to address stormwater issues to provide an analysis of what's going to happen when you introduce the impervious structures that are being planned. That was the request. That seemed reasonable, but the hue and cry and the cost became an issue. And so we revisited that. I talked to Tim about it. We decided, if they can at least get us some stormwater calculations from an engineer, forget the hydrologist, get us stormwater calculations. So there's not really any confusion, by the way. We said, forget the hydrologist, get with Mr. Love at Benchmark, get with an engineer at Benchmark, you're already using them, and let him put together written stormwater calculations and show us precisely how the stormwater is going to be. We're still waiting on that, by the way.
And that plan's cheaper than the hydrologist and everything else.
You would
Because the
assume.
last thing I want you to do is have to dump a ton more money into an area that may be bad.
I can tell you ain't nothing good come out of them. As someone who's getting into the building world, I can relate. I got 50 acres I'm doing, and I got 10 of it I'm not gonna be able to deal with because of that very reason. Just drainage coming from other property. So I hate that you got saddled with this.
The bad answer to that too is those two lots right there have probably changed hands a half a dozen times because people are running into the same issue, I would imagine.
How old are the nearest houses to those lots?
The ones next to us are fairly new.
2 to 3 years next to him, but above him, where the water's coming down, it's probably been there 15 years-ish, maybe.
They told me the phase has been there for almost 30 years.
Maybe. I mean, I hate to date myself that bad, but I don't remember if they were there in high school or not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's only been 3 or 4 years, so it can be.
We're not trying to, like I say,
understand.
we're trying to do the right thing. Like I said, we've had to obviously hire somebody, Benchmark advise that we need to try to figure out how big a ditch.
Well, and again, that's what I want to tell you on the same side. The county wants to do the right thing too. We have to do the right thing legally. right? So the legal parameters on what we can do on the private property side restrains us from doing anything else on it. That's kind of it's a terrible answer from the county to give you that, but it's the legal answer to give you from the county. So it's nothing to do with the county not wanting to pay it or do it or try to help you out as best we can, because we do. Legally, we have to be able to do the right thing.
Switch gears a little bit then, because there is an issue on the Castlewoods Boulevard side.
Okay.
Where it does affect the roadway.
Okay.
Are there any plans in helping correct that or fix them
Are you
issues?
talking about on the Castlewoods Boulevard going into the Willows? Where at on Castlewoods Boulevard?
Right there in front of them two lots.
In front of those two lots?
I mean, that water comes all the way down that hill,
Yeah.
and then down Castlewoods Boulevard, it touches the road.
Yeah, so
Then down in between where the walking trail's at, there's a one drain down there by the signs.
all right, so the walking trail is not, that's not Castlewoods, I mean, that's not county property, the walking trail.
Homeowner
Right.
Association. I'm
Right,
not sure
so-
exactly. Like I say, we're just trying to,
Yeah,
I've tried to make numerous phone calls and get in touch with people to try to make sure that we're
Yeah,
talking to the right one.
So the right-of-way side of things that touches Castlewoods Boulevard in front of those two lots, then we'll definitely do our part to be sure that that open ditch right there flows directly to that spot. So absolutely, yeah. And we've done work on both sides of that road coming into it, because we know all the water flows down, so
I
that
know there's
area.
a curve up on that one side to
Yeah.
try to keep that water from running over into there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when it comes down, like I say, it's like it's definitely a issue on the
And I
Castlewoods
know
Boulevard side.
we've recut those ditches. That's one of the few open ditch areas in that subdivision, which is right there along the boulevard. So I know we go in and recut those things
So
several
we're-
times.
I'm sorry, I'm
Oh, yeah.
not trying to interrupt you.
Sure.
We're obviously gonna have to cut a very large ditch
Mhm.
through there to be able to handle the drainage and what looks to be the water coming from above
You talking about behind your?
in front
In the
of
front.
Castlewoods Boulevard. And, I don't know, where's the county?
Well, and that's one of the things we can do. Once you get your study back, we'll come back out there again, get on the same page. Everybody, before we move any dirt, right? Be sure everybody's on the same page, that the water flow around it's not gonna affect that Castlewoods Boulevard or even the area of Glennsview right there, that we get it directed into those drains that go underneath it. 'Cause, there's a drain right there in the middle of Glennsview and Castlewoods Boulevard, right there at the intersection. We've upsized that. I know we did a hydro study 3, 4, 5 years ago, Tim, 3, 4 years ago, to do that spot. Because we knew we were gonna increase the size of that pipe, right? That was gonna send more water down, I won't call it downrange, but downstream, that was gonna dip out into the Mill Creek side of everything. So I know we did a study there, but that's just from that point, water coming down from the top of the hills where you're at into those culverts, so.
Benchmark does about 90% or more of the developments around here, so
Yes.
if there's a way they can,
That's one
be
reason
done.
they got hired over others.
Yeah.
Just because they do a lot of work, they do a lot of work for y'all.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there was another issue, which I think we've already addressed and took care of, was making sure if I was having to spend this money, that we wasn't gonna spend money on something that was gonna get rejected by the county.
Right, yeah, just before you do it, get with us, and we want to help you best we can.
That's all I was here to do today, was ask, and I guess put a face with names.
Yep.
Because
Right.
obviously none of y'all
Well-
have seen me, and I'm just now seeing y'all, so.
It doesn't hurt to ask, and like I said, we want to help you, but our hands are tied of what we can do. But you're going the right direction as far as, I think, getting somebody maybe that can guide you in the direction of something that we possibly could live with,
Yes, sir.
so.
We've asked for a written stormwater calculation. Tim will have to give me the details, but we are waiting on written stormwater calculation and drainage plan from whoever the Garrettsons have hired, Benchmark or otherwise. Once we have that, we can move forward to consider building permits. We don't have anything from an engineer that lays out those stormwater calculations.
Right.
Therefore, there are no building permits ready to be issued for either lot.
Right.
Roger, got it.
Well, there was some confusion about that, because when I talked to Mr. Love, this didn't have anything to do with the county, but when I talked to him, they said that the concern was on one lot, the one lot in particular that we weren't building on at this time. But after talking to Mr. Slade, said, no, we need a drainage plan on both.
It sounds like they're both going to impact the same thing, so I can agree that you're going to need to look at both of them.
Yes, sir. So I talked to which today's first day I met Mr. Bounds. I've been dealing with Mr. Mike Love, and Mr. Bound said he actually spoke to Mike last week.
Bonds.
I'm sorry, Bonds.
That's good.
I apologize.
You good.
Mr. Bond, last week, he spoke, and he's supposed to be working on it this week. So hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have something on our end stating what may be the best outcome.
I just wanted you guys to understand where we were in the process.
Right.
In the event there's any questions or concerns about the county moving forward with the permit process, that's what the holdup is. We need something in writing. I understand that we have a representative of the Castle Woods HOA with us today, and so I wanted to make you guys aware that Keely's here on behalf of the HOA. Do you have anything you need to add?
Come on up.
I appreciate y'all's time.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to make sure.
Just state your
because-
name and address.
Oh, sorry. Keely Woodfield, Castlewood Homeowners Association. And I'm the president, the current board president.
Congratulations.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I don't know how y'all do this. Okay, so I want to make sure, like you had made the comment, the roadway in the middle where the walking trail is. Okay, like we cut that grass and take care of that grass, but that's really like
Yeah, and that's one of those-
not
yeah.
technically ours. So like,
Yeah.
I guess what my concern is like, are we gonna have, because in talking with him, I've learned a lot about this intersection and stuff. And that intersection is a bad intersection. You know, and it does come down, you know, to the front and then I guess goes under our road over there. I really don't know where the pipes go. And then the water coming from back is really, I think, what makes a lot of that intersection bad.
Yeah, here was the reason I was fairly certain that it wasn't ours. On the plat, it doesn't show the median that's there anyway. But someone, probably well before me, put a walking trail through the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
So the county didn't do walking trails. So somebody had to, I've been looking for somebody my whole life, but somebody authorized for a walking trail to be paved or constructed inside county.
Well, from what I've
Right, so
been
the
told.
plat didn't show it. You know, the plat just shows one road coming in and out of the Willow side of that on development thing. So it's a weird thing.
Yeah, I've always just been told that basically they came to a Board of Supervisors meeting and got permission to do it.
Because we don't
but then
maintain it. Right.
Said, right,
Maybe
but then
a couple
as long as they didn't have to
supervisors.
maintain
Yeah,
it,
very possible.
that, you know, that they would allow them to do that.
One before you.
So it's never been tested. Nobody's ever put the black robe on and smacked the gavel on the
Yeah.
table to declare one way or the other. Here's the truth of the matter. If it's our right of way, it will never be maintained to the satisfaction of the residents out there.
So we pay to
Period.
maintain it.
End of
No doubt.
paragraph,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
If it's ours, we won't maintain it like they like it. And so we basically take the position, y'all maintain it how y'all like it, because you won't like it the way we maintain it. That's the way we treat
Because
that.
we maintain all the way to the entrance
Yeah,
sign,
that's
which
right. All
a
the way
lot
to the
of
back
people
and
get
front.
very upset
Right.
about because we cut that whole entire boulevard for
Yes.
that purpose.
Yes.
I guess like my biggest concern is like, I mean, you know, I ultimately want them to be resolved. I feel bad that we've, you know, had to cancel their ARC over all of this. I mean, I want to be a working partner. And I mean, I just never, I mean, would have thought that the two meeting up, and I mean, you and I have talked a lot about it. But that intersection is a bad intersection with the water that we have now, and we have thousands of residents who drive through there. So, you know, with that being said, I mean, if the water coming over the street, which like I wasn't aware of either, is that really on us or is that on y'all? Because it's, I mean, is that something Tim's gonna have to look at or?
All of these issues are known problems and have been for years.
That's what I'm hearing.
And there is a reason why those lots remained undeveloped for over a decade. There's a reason for it,
Okay,
okay? It's because they have endemic, systemic wastewater, stormwater problems.
okay,
And anybody that's ever been out there in any rainfall of any amount would not have any questions about whether there was some stormwater issues in that vicinity right there. So everybody is on notice. We have stormwater problems. It's why we brake checked. It's why we put the timeout up and said, whoa, 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 before we do any permits here, we gotta know how is this going to be even worse than we already know about?
well, and that's just with, you know, I think everything that we all deal with is
everybody's rumors and stories of past and history.
So the people that buy those houses who aren't out there constantly watching during extraordinary rain events, who don't know about these issues, will be on notice when we get to the end of this issue. They will be on notice, because it'll be in the land records, that there are known stormwater issues and that the county demanded to know how stormwater was going to be controlled. They will know that before they buy the house. And that way, not if, but when they come back to y'all or to the county and say, how are y'all going to fix my yard eroding? We can say, you will need to go and address this with the people you bought the house from and from the engineer who they worked with.
Okay. So like moving forward, like, is it Tim, are you gonna get with them and me, or
We're
like,
waiting
who's gonna
on-
give me the
we're-
direction?
we are
of-
literally
and
waiting on
them?
benchmarks.
So the plan, as I understand it, and I've communicated it to Mike Love multiple times now, is they're going to provide us a written plan. This is not a set of plans, this is it can be verbiage of how they're going to handle the stormwater.
Okay.
We want to look at it and agree with Benchmark on the plan before, if they have to put a drawing together of it to help the Garrettsons with doing their dirt work or whatever. I'm not sure who's doing that for them, but we said, get us a plan because of the cost, obviously, to keep the cost down. Get us a written plan of how you want to handle the stormwater.
Okay.
And so once we get that, we can look at it and I think make a decision that the county's satisfied on our end that it's not
We
going
wanna
to
know
adversely affect the road, or
how
we're going to have
is-
to address something on the road.
How is their plan, as put forward, potentially going to affect the right-of-way stormwater that we deal with? That's something we need to know.
Okay.
Y'all are gonna be asking us.
And we have to approve it. We have to approve it too, as a board.
Tim's gonna
So
look
really,
at
it's
that.
a lot of loose ends, gotta be tied together. So,
Well, and I mean, the only reason why I'm coming, they asked me to come today to just like kind of help with the whole clarification part, because I think it's really
Right.
just a lot of moving parts and maybe no one really understands.
that's what I'm
Who's on
saying.
first or second, and, you know, I just want to make sure, what do we need to do as the HOA to help?
You'll know more once we know more.
I don't know that you guys have much of anything to say other than your architectural review committee.
Right,
Y'all
okay.
need to revisit that issue. We are looking at the stormwater issue.
Okay.
That's us, because it's coming to us. All of that stormwater comes to my right of way, right, Tim?
Correct.
Every bit of it's coming to me. So we got to.
In the middle of the road where the walking trails, you're right away too.
I don't know the answer. I didn't look at.
I don't know about
haven't
all
looked at any
that.
drawings on it.
We don't.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something that's just kind of been up there. We don't know.
We never knew.
Well,
Okay.
yeah,
No.
I mean, because y'all maintain it, y'all put a walking trail in it, y'all being the HOA, me, I
Yeah.
guess too. So, right, so the HOA did that, how long ago that was. So I don't know. On the map, it
I
doesn't
don't know
show
how you
that.
got permission to put it in there. Somewhere it happened.
It doesn't clearly say on the plat.
Gotcha.
So
It's
it's
a
one of the
no man's
things you
land.
maybe put in, then ask forgiveness one day if it ever came up.
I
So
don't know.
right now, like I said, I don't mean to cut you off, but we've been
No,
here
no, no,
quite a
no,
while.
no, I'm good.
And there's a lot of things we need to find out before you really tell you anything else. So I think we're kind of at a stopping point until we get some more information, mainly from Benchmark, and then to our engineer, and we go from there.
And my
So-
communication, just to clarify,
Right.
in response to that would be back to whoever submitted it. Benchmark submits it, I'll communicate with them.
So you
Right.
don't, so they just need to keep in touch.
They
with
won't be
Benchmark.
communicating
Right.
with the
And if
HOA.
Benchmark tells me to call the, I don't mind talking to the Garrettsons. It just, whoever submits it is who I respond to.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
That's
So HOA really, you can find out, but we don't really have to come back to you for that, really. Y'all, it's nothing y'all really need to know.
Y'all may
Oh,
be
yeah.
interested in knowing, and we're
Yeah,
happy to
just
visit
like
with you.
anyone
We
else,
always do, but y'all are not gonna be seats at the table deciding how are we going to address public right-of-way stormwater. That's not an HOA purview.
Yeah, I know,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay. All right.
If
Thank you.
Thank
y'all
you.
are concerned about that common area, that's the no man's land, you may want to at least investigate that as a part of this
I
process.
will, I
but
will, I will
that's-
definitely.
That's not
do
something
that.
that we're going to take the initiative to do on our side.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Do we have a need executive session?
One matter that
Oh,
shouldn't take
you're
just a
kidding.
second.
Okay. All right. I have a motion for need to go into executive session.
I make a motion to discuss the need to go into executive session.
Discuss,
Litigation.
litigation. All right, motion to need by Jay, second by Brad. All in favor say aye. Okay, I have a motion to go into executive session. Motion by Steve, second by Brad. All in favor say aye. All opposed. Okay. All right,
Yeah, they're gonna have to put in big retainage.
I'm telling you.